And that's why Watts isn't allowed within 500 feet of a dentist anymore. Hello
Wow,
and
that was
welcome
nice.
to DCP episode 300 and something. Welcome,
I think it's 31.
Danfinity and Fran Mirabella.
That's right. We're down.
Hey,
we're down a couple
Fran
members
something
tonight.
is here doing something. Hello, thank you.
A couple of
Good to be
perfect
back.
strangers to this community for sure. So-
Watts is at home. She had a
Yeah.
little wisdom teeth removed this week. So
Yeah, she's chewing on gauze and drooling on herself somewhere. I don't know.
yeah, she bit off her dentist's finger. And she should be back in the show in 5 to 10, I believe.
Years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think the charges are going to stick. I'm not too worried about her.
Yeah, self-defense, right?
Not the most notable indictment of the week, though. Continuing.
She's in chat too, so that's kind of funny. How's everybody doing?
Feel pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's good.
Got a lot of news going on. Also, E3 was canceled. Fran, were you going to go down to E3 this year? Did you have plans? Did you
Always.
have plane tickets?
I've been to no, I didn't plan anything yet because I could see this coming.
Right,
In
they
particular,
go
when Ubisoft was already
Right.
saying, "Well, we're talking about it." Like I've planned, for E3. If you're not booked by like February on the business side, chances are like you're gonna be way behind. But I just knew something was up with that. But E3 is canceled, but they were trying to get it back as well. So we'll see. I'd have a lot to say on E3, but I think inevitably, just remember 80% of it was press conferences and like Nintendo Direct stuff. Like that doesn't change anything for the viewers, the people that wanted news from it. It doesn't change at all, and it hasn't changed.
Do you think the people that are going to be most affected by this are going to be like indie devs and stuff?
No, because I would say indie devs didn't. I mean, I don't want to speak for them, but that again, like getting indie coverage at E3 was hard. I think they succeeded with some people, but it gets blown out of the water by the latest Cyberpunk DLC showing or Microsoft's brand new Halo expansion. Like those drowned out. It was very hard, I think, for indies to compete with Call of Duties and all the other of the world. It really just honestly, E3 was mostly a show that was surrounded by press conferences and announcements because it was a tent pole. And at the show itself, it was primarily a lot of business happening behind the scenes. So folks like Nintendo meeting with Walmart executives that, didn't concern us. And that was always the root of the show. And then, of course, there was a bunch of hands-on and stuff for the press. But that was even then, right? You already saw like the new, Uncharted 5 trailer or whatever. And, everything else after that was like, oh, I also got to go hands-on with this new Assassin's Creed expansion. So long story short, all that will still exist in some form. We see there's a Jedi Survivor, event happening that it report on next week. So none of that changes, but at the show, no more, IGN live from the show, but IGN will probably do something that week. So can they get people to come down and gather around an event like Summer Game Fest and all the press conferences? So it may not change from a outward view, but if you worked at, say, Best Buy or Walmart and you wanted to go as a manager and you had a friend that's where there was a lot of activity, I think that folks will be bummed. And then they wanted to get fans there too. So
I think the industry's just changed so much. For me, I've only been to an E3 one time. Outside of that, I was always excited about it as a viewer, like as a consumer, because it's just this huge wave of content that gets me really hyped about gaming for the year, because I'm like always following IGN's channel on YouTube. Like they're uploading constantly, like every hour is like here's a game you should be aware of, here's another game you should be aware of, and as a consumer that wasn't like constantly just in that at that time, I wasn't in that Twitterverse where all of that news is constantly being shared anyways. So for me, that was always like my fix each year of just like, okay, here's what I need to wrap my head around for this year, get excited about, budget for, and prepare myself for.
Yeah, and I think that'll still roughly happen, as long as we get all the press conferences and related hands-on events and stuff.
Sure.
Do you think like there's so many conventions now, right? There's multiple PAXs. Seems like every month there's some kind of convention. Then there's multiple ones that are all over the world. It just seems like E3 just kind of it was like the shining beacon of like the beginning of summer, and like, here is everything, all the news. I remember like getting magazines even in the 90s.
Yeah.
It'd be like this fat, thick, nice big, like 200-page magazine. It'd be like little like one picture of a game, like 3 sentences about it, and then on to the next game. Right?
Yeah.
It's like it was insane. But now it's like, you know, like you guys were saying, it's like you get news from all over the place. Plus, like fans, you know, PAX East was just last weekend. Like there's constantly a convention of some sort, and they're so specific. Like you can go to just a retro game convention, you can go to just a Blizzard convention, you can go, you know, like just specifically to your tastes.
Yeah,
it's just so much.
Yeah, on the news side again, I believe we've already seen it, right? It gets broken up over June, like EA pushed out a little, but then Microsoft and Sony still did stuff around each other, and Nintendo did too. And so we'll see if they all decide that they're still going to gather within roughly a week is basically the E3 timeframe usually, because if you can get people to come down for a few events too, like it doesn't matter whether we go to a convention or go to some hotel suite, right, and get hands-on, and they could be more selective. And, you know, you also just have massive companies like IGN and others that just own so much coverage that it's easy to reach people now. It used to be much harder, to your point, but it was never a fan convention, is important to remember. It was never a competitor with PAX, and like that was the to be seen, like could they combine all this? But that obviously is not happening. And I mean, I'd be very curious if I don't think they would, is like sell the E3 brand to someone. And like you basically have like Summer Game Fest doing its own thing in the same way, trying to basically just replace, I think, that as a tentpole, which I think is awesome. But it's not trying to do anything, or not anything, but most again with what E3 was doing was there's ESA fees and building booths and a huge event where people could meet, and something like Summer Game Fest and IGN Fest and all that of the world are more about let's get all the news in one place and announce it at the same time, and also have some hands-on and meetings and interviews all at the same time. So do you need a convention center for that is the question,
right?
To really get the coverage.
They also control the narrative more when they're in the feed rather than at somebody else's show.
Oh yeah, like it's not the narrative isn't who had the better press conference, Sony, Nintendo, or Microsoft. You know, that it's just you get to have your own press conference whenever you want.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now they have multiple a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo Direct was, interestingly enough, was the one that looked forward the most and was like, you know what? We don't want to spend this money. We're not going to have a press conference. They were still at the show because, again, it was important for the brick and mortar type stuff. But amazing now that everybody wants to just, have their own Direct because you control the narrative. But it became a fan thing, which at first nobody wanted to like be spoon-fed directly from the companies. But they've managed to, you don't people don't even think about it anymore. You more than happily log on to YouTube and have Nintendo feed you exactly what they want. Where before it was like, actually, I kind of want the journalists from EGM and IGN and everyone sitting there, not only broadcasting, but also reacting, getting all of that in a place like that because it's freedom of the press. But I mean, the good news is I haven't seen like press conferences like, avoiding, important narratives, but access wise, it can create issues of like Nintendo. Yeah. I mean, they used to probably grant an interview about Tears of the Kingdom, many of them. And they probably don't grant that many interviews at all anymore. So it's kind of lost right now. It's lost, so I'd like to see more coverage there and more openness, but I don't know.
Yeah. So Destiny.
Oh yeah, that was big at E3 in 2013, I think, in 2014.
Right. When they dropped the alpha, you can play it.
You can go over there. You can go over there.
That public event looked amazing.
Yeah. Dude, Lost Sectors. Are you kidding me?
But yeah, I've been playing a lot lately of Lightfall and the new season and everything. So I'm excited to. I haven't caught up on whatever.
Well, let me ask you this. This will be an interesting question then. If you kind of took a little time away, now you're coming back, and now you're into it full swing. From that perspective, from that player that you represent, how did you feel or react to the changes in difficulty scaling that Bungie brought in this season? Like, was that kind of off-putting, or was it jarring at all, or did it feel pretty natural just to come back into it and, pick up where you left off?
to be clear, I may not represent the extremity of the player that like left and came back, because I just forgot. I don't do that. What I do is I play all the content. I play it when it comes out. So I do the 5 weeks of the season. Sometimes I do it every week and I'm playing 20 hours a week, or sometimes it's 10. But I do it all. I do the dungeon. I do the raid. I just got my exotic. But then I'm like, okay, cool. I got my fill. And then usually that's the point where you start hearing from the hardcore community who's like grinding. They're like, I don't like the weapons enough and the balance. And they're like, why aren't grandmasters out yet? And I'm like, I totally get that, because that is such a important, piece of it. And like, I'd like to think that I get close to that, like I have a conqueror title. But anyway, to answer your question, I'm always up to speed. My power level is always there. I may not have the best builds ready, because like, God, my loot, I have so much loot, and spending the time, I'm like, I just want to play the game. So only when I get interested enough to be like, I'm going to drop in and do a solo Legend Lost Sector. And I did, for example, to get the title, not the title, the rank.
Yeah. I'm still a little baby level 6, because I'm like, I ain't doing that.
Yeah, because I did the solo.
A lot of that stuff. I'm just like, nah.
I thought it was awesome. The solo Lost Sectors have always been difficult, and like, so I actually didn't feel it as much there. But I will tell you, and maybe it's a good segue for getting into the TWAB, where they talk about this and the community's been talking about it. Man, I did the weekly mission to get my rank stuff done. You got to do 3 legend weekly missions.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake of not doing the first 3 weeks. And I just did, was it last week? It's a freaking end mission. It takes like 30, 40 minutes. And then you get to, yes, okay. I did it this week, mistakenly, because I forgot I needed 3 of those, not 1. But long story short, man, I just was like, I'll roll in. I'm going to mess around with this weapon. I didn't like, it's a locked loadout. 30, 40 minutes past. I'm like, wait, this is the final mission. Like, okay, fine. Then we get to Callus. And the team, we have no Warlock, no Bubble. And we're getting murdered and running in circles. And it took us about an hour, but we still got the 100,000 score. But man, it was like brutal. I was like, this is not balanced. This is a legend mission. Everybody was experienced on the team. We had good weapons, but no, I didn't have like a build, and we didn't like load a Warlock in, but I certainly would have in retrospect. So it sucked.
I made a terrible mistake.
So it felt unfair. And then I was doing freaking Vanguard Ops missions last night. Just straight up. Oh no, I went into Hero. It was just Hero.
Yeah, just Hero.
And randomly, because I forgot you could randomly matchmake with Hero. And yeah, a few people are in the stream now, so they're like, oh, well, we were watching this. It was bad. But anyway, I don't know if it's, what is the one strike where you end, it's the pool of Vex with the big, the floating, Cyclops.
It's Hydra. The Hydra.
Yeah.
Is that Glassway? God, but you end up down there and all of these champions are coming out, Overload champion. It was so unbalanced. Like the team, it had 2 people, again, with decent gear and a random that actually I looked. They were like 1824 with everything masterworked, and we were like dying just because, again, locked loadout. Or actually, that wasn't even locked, but we just we weren't ready. So it took us like several deaths and a long time, and it was just annoying. It wasn't balanced. It went... And for the record, by the way, I had just before that played like another strike, and it was like kind of too easy in some ways. So it clearly there's some balance problems. So long answer to me what you were asking, but that's me. Welcome back, everybody.
Hey, we got nothing but time. It's all good.
So I don't know. Yeah, what did you guys? Maybe before we get into what they're doing with the changes, how did you feel about? You heard they were going to change it and make it more difficult, the campaign, the everything. Did you feel it? Did you like it?
I'm gonna hand that off to you, Dan.
Sure. Hi. I'll take that. Thank you.
The Brady Bunch.
So for the legendary difficulty, after my experience with Witch Queen, going in with like 1 extra buddy for legendary campaign, I decided to do this one more solo. And I didn't have as bad of a time with it. My gripes with however they told the story and everything aside, I actually felt that I was getting gear at a good enough clip that I was keeping up with the difficulty of legendary. When it came to everything post, that's where I started tripping up. Like Avalon is interesting.
Yeah.
Or at least it was until like they fixed it today. did that solo because I was
Same.
Went in with 3 people the first time, and that was a mistake. That was just bad
Wait,
time.
so 3 was really
everybody.
difficult on Avalon Legends?
Because it scaled so much for each person.
Yeah, I've been told 2's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Because I've only done it in 3s and solos, and both times it's like, oh, okay,
that's messed
I need to
up
sit up in my seat.
Yeah, see, that's messed up when you start the duo instead of trio already.
Yeah. That middle room with the hole is the bane of my existence. And so I actually felt that was tuned way harder than some of the other things that we had to do. Like it's tuned way harder than the raid was. And so it feels like obviously different teams built different things, but difficulty is not even across the board for different activities. The changes, post changes, after jumping in today, I did one of the master Glassway. Fran, you came in and we're hanging out in chat.
Yeah, I was watching.
Doing Glassway. So master feels a little bit better. But then again, that's something that I've been running season over season with experienced people who have taught me, like, okay, you got the minotaurs that come out now, then you knock the baby down to half, then you got the minotaurs come out again, and you just
keep
like
memorize
the
sequence of events, right?
So you know how it's going just from basic muscle memory, but I can't. The difficulty previous was maybe just a little overtuned. Now it feels more even.
Yeah, and I think that last part you mentioned was master, but just to be clear to everybody, like I think most people here like the challenge. I like making a build and getting a little pushback. What I don't like though is, again, when you're on like hero or even legend, weekly story, let's say, that just feels like something. You got a pretty good team, you should be able to finish it. It shouldn't be so overwhelming. So again, when you move on to like master and stuff, I mean, I haven't played any master content. I think that's
you're opting into the challenge at that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's a tricky thing, though. You don't want to get a locked loadout and spend 40 minutes and be like, yo, this is a surprise. Versus we already did the legend campaign, and you may have even done other legend stuff. That's where when you see that inconsistency, it becomes a surprise. Like we could have, the stuff I talked about, we could absolutely have blown it away, but like by talking to each other and loading it out. But on a hero Nightfall, that should not be
match
necessary.
Made with solos and
What was it? So ranking from 6 to 7, I want to say that there is something along the lines where you had to complete the weekly campaign mission with a certain amount of score within that first. Yeah. And so we had to do that. We decided
the exotic quest is what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Actually, it was the exotic quest, or you had to wait for the seasonal Defiance Legend difficulty event.
Yeah. So we were cranking. I've been doing the journey section just kind of as something to do. I'm currently at 9 out of the 11 so far. And we went in that first week and did the weekly campaign. And you had to kill every enemy, and then just to like sauce it up a little bit, if you res your buddies, if your buddies died and you res your buddies, you got points from that. So you were just farming their lives. That's where that felt.
So the points were even off.
Feels
on
a little
that.
bad.
Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting. I'm not a fan of the journey. I really don't like it. As its own thing, it's not that I hate it as its own thing. I really don't like the disconnect between what we were told it was going to be and what it ended up being. Because the way they pitched it made it sound like this is going to be a reflection of how much you love Destiny, how much you play Destiny, how good you are at Destiny. So people can look at you as maybe a leader in the fire team or something based on what rank you've achieved. And so I feel like I'm a pretty competent Destiny player. You know, I like no life this game, and I play it till I'm blue in the face. But I'm going to be ranked 6 forever because I don't like having a preset list of criteria for what Bungie says makes me a good Destiny player. If that's what they said this is supposed to reflect, you know what I mean? How much of a veteran you are. And so for me, I don't like having that checklist of things that isn't what I like out of Destiny, what I like to do out of Destiny. My Destiny experience, the whole mantra of Destiny has become legend. Create your own character, your own unique path, and walk that path. And And so that seems in direct conflict to having a list of criteria from Bungie that says this is what we want you to do in order to look like a veteran player. I don't like that disconnect.
Can you give a few examples of what's missing for you? Because like
There's
for example,
nothing,
it's like
nothing PvP.
There you go. So you're like a super experienced, very good PvP player, super knowledgeable, and you're a 6 like.
Yeah, I raid. I do GMs. I do master raids. I get all my adept loot. Listen, I do all that stuff, but I don't feel compelled to do it consistently and religiously. I like to funnel my time into other activities so that I get a little bit more enjoyment out of 9 out of 10 times. You know what I'm saying? So I could be the greatest PvP player in the history of Destiny 2. I'm not, but I could be the greatest PvP player in the history of Destiny 2. I've logged more time on Destiny 2 than any other gamer. I could consistently hold 100,000 viewers on Twitch because I'm so good at Destiny, and I will still be a level 5 or level 6 in terms of my Guardian rank. And that seems strange to me.
Yeah, and that's what it sounds to me like, because you named some things that are very high rank that you've done in the past, Grandmasters, but those don't count, I don't think, for retroactively. And it sounds like the problem for you, and this is a question, is the list kind of menial stuff you don't want to do from 6 to 7. So yeah, you feel like it's missing the stuff you're doing right away. You obviously, I assume you played the campaign and then you just play all PvP pretty much.
No, I mean, I do it all. I do the seasonal content, the stories there. I do my Nightfalls and my GMs. I do my raids. I mean, I it's like PvE to me is like, it's like eating your veggies. Okay, I'm gonna get to my dessert. I'm gonna get to my meat and my potatoes too, that I really love. But I gotta eat my veggies too, and I'll do that.
So you must be so close to being a 7, but
yeah, I'm
I
like
wonder
2 things away from being 7.
Yeah, and it's like I know that you can do it. So what is it more like? It's probably like a solo lost sector, and then maybe like a weekly mission something.
Yeah,
is it?
Those are the 2 I need.
Couldn't be bothered. Is that the problem?
Honestly, I just don't care enough. The only reason I would want to do it is just to get the extra loadout slots, because like I said, I'm doing all of these things. Sometimes, I mean, I've got loadout slots that I'm using for specific encounters in the raid where I'm the div guy on this encounter, so I just click to that one, and then I'm DPS for this one, and I'm running the nodes on this encounter. So I've just got all my other loadouts. But then I also want my trials loadout. I want my strand loadout for PvP, and I want my void loadout for PvP. All of them to be right there, easily accessible. And I will probably get around to doing the rank up to at least 7, but I don't
it's also reset though. Like,
say what?
It's also going to reset the rank.
We don't know how that's going to be yet, though. It will to some degree, but
the way that they talked about it, I believe it was Superion on Twitter, when the first couple of weeks when that kind of blew up on Twitter as part of a conversation, he had said that the seasonal stuff is definitely going to reset. Some of the commendation stuff, no numbers or anything, but that will also kind of reset. And then, but the harder things, like, or the more fast and true stuff, like the master lost sectors and stuff, those will stick. So you're kind of, if you decide to do Paragon, then next season when it comes back around, it'll be a shorter list and stuff that you're already engaging in with the seasonal model, but nothing. I don't really know if it's worth the squeeze either.
See, it interests me so much because I mean I just want to see your journey list, because I know TV that you'd be done in like 2 hours. So I was trying to figure out if it was like, one, you felt sort of cheated, that you're like, yo, I'm like a 7, and this just bothers me.
Yeah, part of it is that. I mean,
which is fair. Everybody became a 6.
I'll admit it. I'm being a little petty about it. Sure.
But there's something in there.
There's also another side of it where, and this isn't, obviously I speak only for content creators here. I don't speak for 99.9% of the community. But for me, it's also about time management. You know, I have a specific amount of time allotted to Destiny every day. And I need to maximize it because I need to churn out content, because I got to feed my kids and pay my bills. So for me, when I do those things, that's time away from things that are going to earn me cash, because I cannot monetize content where I'm going in and doing a weekly reset mission. That's not what my community wants out of me. And that's not the kind of content they're going to watch from me. So I have to be strategic. So it's a little bit of that too.
But I think that's still fair. You've still put in 1,000 hours. You have tons of knowledge, and I'm guessing here, but it feels like we need more retroactive stuff because you've already done a bunch of stuff that shows that you're above a 6. I have the same issue. It's like, do you need me to like grind back through this journey? But I'm doing it to like get my, my real feeling on it. The commendations was my biggest issue with the rankings so far. And there's still, as we'll see in the TWAP, still, it's like, I'm like waiting for commendations. Like that's the only thing I'm missing. And then also some things getting trapped in like weekly resets that keeps you from going farther. Like in other words, you can't see a challenge in 9 and be like, oh, I just finished the master raid. That should be worth X amount of points. Like why is everything gated? To force you to get like Nimbus rank ups before I'm a 7, like that's a perfect example for you. You're well beyond getting rank ups with like a new vendor in terms of a player, and I do agree that everybody just got pushed to a 6, and then it also got tied into like how do we get people to play more? And I think you got to be careful to not make everybody who's played for 4,000 hours, well, you're a 6, but I need you to play a little more and prove it. And I think that's what we're facing is that 6 to 7 and 8 even. It doesn't feel like people are 8s. They're just like 6s because you got to grind Nimbus or whatever. So, yeah.
Do you guys feel that it might be that it's not for us? that maybe the system is built.
I think that's fair, Dan.
Yeah.
I've said this for years about Destiny. I don't believe that they build every activity for every person in Destiny. I think they're trying to hit a wide swath, so there's something for everybody, but not everything's not for everybody. And you don't you shouldn't. I feel like I don't need to feel compelled to do everything in Destiny anymore because they're clearly building stuff for certain people and other stuff for other people.
Yeah. This feels like a system that like I have somebody in my Discord who just started like maybe a month ago. I don't know if they're a free-to-play player, but they're going through this system, and it feels like it is more geared towards somebody who is newer to the game than everybody that's sitting here on this podcast.
It is a huge complaint for new players is that there's really not a lot of direction. Like, on like what should I be doing here? Like what. I understand that people love this game. Why do you love it? And like, what are you doing? Like, what have you been doing for 4,000 hours? Like.
Yeah, you know what? That question I think nails the core of the issue, which is there are different types of players. So imagine them as shades. At the very least, let's say you've got the Crucible Focus red, you've got PvE blue. I'm using the weapon rating coding here, and then you've got the hybrids in gold. And the problem is,
what
right?
Color is Gambit?
That's like a vomitous
zombie
green.
It was a vibrant green, but it's kind of
it's sort of a seasick.
I haven't seen green in a very long time.
But I think you guys are nailing it with the like it just occurred to me. The problem is, it's gated. It's not an are you this or this or this, finish this or this or this and move on. It's literally like more of like a season rank up system almost. Like the fact you have to do stuff before you move to a 7 as opposed to being able to choose, in other words. And I think going into it, I was assuming there'd be more choice because unless I'm wrong, right, you have to do everything on the list. So it that's the problem.
If I had options, like if it was like do
go
your
to the
weekly
lighthouse.
Reset or get to the lighthouse or just get a 7-win card in trials.
That's the best idea I've heard. An or.
It should be points based or something.
I would like to have alternatives to show that I'm a competent Destiny player in my own sphere of, excellence.
Imagine it
corner of Destiny that's for me.
Yeah, imagine it was a little closer to triumphs. Like instead of this list of you have to, and then you move on. It's literally like all this stuff within each rank that's worth values, and you're like, did it. Bing, ranked up, did it. It's just experience points, so to speak. And I think we expected that. And it's surprising people that it is almost like, well, how do we get you to play more this season? As well as you've played a lot too, so we got to take care of those.
You could even give certain things on that checklist different value. You know what I mean? Be like, you got to get Nimbus to this rank and you have to do a weekly reset, mission at this score, and that'll get you 2 points towards your rank up to 7. Or if you completed the master raid, that counts as 2 points.
Dude, that should be huge.
You do that one thing and that's 2 or 3. You went flawless, that's worth 2 points. You know what I mean? So doing some more prestigious activities that Destiny has to offer, proving your mettle in those spaces, maybe that should count for more value. I don't know.
I like that idea. What if it was like you had to get 1,000 points, and there were 1,500 total points on this list of things you could be doing?
Yes.
Bingo.
Mm-hmm.
That would be much more palatable to me. To me. Sorry, I'm chewing on my own tongue here. Like lots.
The only thing I will say is I want to play devil's advocate. I do like that they are going down this road because I thought it was worthless for so many years to have like your season pass rank. I never paid attention to it. They never showed the power of the Guardian, which even that always hits a weird cap. And then it's like, well, what does that mean? So they're onto something, and you're not going to get it right on day one. I think we should, or at least on my side, I always, like to be objective. Like, sure, there's a bunch of things I don't like, but for me, when you say, is it for you? Yeah, I think it is. But kind of like TV's face, it's like, yo, I've been playing this game for 9 years. But then there's some people who've only been playing for 3 years, and like everybody's a 6. The gradient is you don't see like a 1, a 3, and an 8. And I know we're only like 5 weeks in. We also got to be fair about that. But because there's so many 6s, which is basically just this massive part of the player base, that's what screws it up. And they got to fix that sweet spot first before.
Sure.
So I'd like to see, improvements. I want to keep it. I think it's cool in the long run, and we are also not seeing it's partially created for LFG, I think, right? So you want to have it, and even more to what TV's facing, like he shouldn't be trying to get people help him in trials or whatever. And it's like, this guy's a 6. Yeah. And that can be good or bad. But, yeah. They've gotta
that would make a good video though, TV. Get somebody to carry you through trial.
That's right. That's right. That's been done before. Some content creators love doing that kind of stuff, which is kind of funny. Undercover streamer stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. We've been dogging on them a little bit, but I will say this week we did have the Master Raid came out, and there's a little bit of disagreement in the community about that experience and the difficulty of it. One thing I will say is I love that adept weapons from the raid matter now, right? Because with Vow the Disciple and with King's Fall, it's like, why are you going to need an adept version of the gun when you can craft it to be better than the adept version of the gun on the regular version of the raid? So now having them address that to help the adept weapons matter and to be able to reach fully crafted weapon status and beyond is a great improvement. So I'll probably have to dive in there and start farming some Michael's references, because I don't know if you know this, that's the first raid sidearm that we have had since Spire of Stars.
Wow,
since my daughter was 1 year old.
Oh dang!
I know these things. They're like every raid comes out. They're like GLs for everybody, SMGs for everybody, and linears for everybody. And I'm over here like, please, sir, pull a little Trebek up off the sidearm. No. Get out of here, get out.
Well, have we had a trace rifle out of the raid previous? I don't think we have, right?
That's a good question. I definitely like the new trace rifle.
Yeah.
Vacation. Cool.
Somebody's gonna correct us if we're wrong. So we'll check the comments. But I don't
Don't worry, I won't read comments. I'll never find out about it. As far as I know, we're right forever.
Love it. Yeah, no, Danfinity doesn't count, of course. Like, we're talking about like your usual.
Just a drop.
But trace rifles also haven't been around since the launch of Destiny 2, like sidearms have been. So we had six adept shotguns in the game before we ever got our first adept sidearm. Put that into perspective. I'm not bitter about it. Just saying. And this week we got our first ever Nightfall sidearm. The Buzzard. We've never had a Nightfall sidearm before.
Oh, did you get it? How is it?
Oh, dude, it's really freaking good.
Is it good?
Yeah, it can. So Drang has been the premier sidearm for PvP users, players for a while, because it's got that extra zoom value, which means it can reach deeper ranges. And it's that adaptive archetype, which if you hit all 4 headshots, you melt somebody in 0.6 seconds. It's like the fastest TTK for primary weapons in the game if you land your shots. So Buzzard's the same archetype, goes in the kinetic slot instead of the energy. It's got rangefinder. It's got better range values. It can take adept range mods like Drang can't. So I think when all is said and done, it's like 0.5 meter more range than Drang.
Wow.
But you got to get the roll, right? That's the trade-off, right? You
Mhm.
can craft a Drang, but you got to farm for the Adept sidearm. And then if you get Encore on it, as well as Rangefinder, then you can be pushing, I think it's like close to 90 range on that sidearm.
Can you focus this, do you know? Or is this like you're saying it's just from...
If you get, and this is one thing Bungie did this season, I think is really cool. Maybe you're not a Grandmaster Nightfall farming person. Maybe that's just, it's a little too steep for you. You don't have a team to play with. You're a solo player. You're not into it that deep.
You're just a 6.
You're a 6 like me.
Solid
you're a 6 like me.
Sol-
And you want the Buzzard. Hey, all you got to do is get 1 to drop this week. That's it, just 1. And then you can focus your engrams at Zavala into the Buzzard. And you can focus until you get your God roll. It's great. You don't have to spend 30 hours farming Glassway, because who wants to do that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What roles would you be aiming for either the Buzzard or for Michael's?
Michael's is cool because Michael's Reverence is it's statistically is the best sidearm in its family. Those rapid fire sidearms, they're not popular. They're not popular choices. Nobody's running around out there with those fully automatic sidearms in PvP or in PvE because of the limitations of that family. But within its own subfamily, it is the cream of the crop. Not only that, it's the only rapid fire frame sidearm in the game that can roll tap the trigger, which its base stability, I think, is like 62, and tap the trigger gives you a 40 stability boost for the entire duration of a body shot TTK. So for every encounter, you have max 100 stability on that sidearm. It's perfect. So if you're looking for a good Michael for PvP, tap the trigger is the only sidearm of its kind that can get it. You want it because you want max stability on a rapid fire sidearm. It just makes sense. And then for the Buzzard, pardon me, you need Rangefinder. And then Encore on top of that, you get +5 range for every stack of Encore.
Okay.
So if you get a headshot, that's 2 stacks. It's an additional 10 range. If you get a second headshot within 7 seconds, you get 20 range. So that's going to, yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. So it's going to be, on top of that, by the way, it has like 20 aim assist more than Drang, which is, that's huge. Can you imagine having a Drang with +20 aim assist on it? And if that's not enough, you can put adept targeting on it. You know what I mean? So the gun's juiced.
Oh, yeah.
It's juice. Rangefinder and Encore is the PvP roll, though.
Wait, so you get adept rolls from the Grandmaster?
From the from the GM.
And you can get a regular Buzzard just from in general Nightfall stuff?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That's what I thought. I haven't gotten it yet. I was looking at rolls right now. Yeah, does anybody like kinetic tremors in PvE yet? I haven't played with it enough.
PvE, yeah.
Yeah, in PvE.
It procs shoot to loot too.
No,
so
really?
If you have the Battle Scar and the Hung Jury can both roll kinetic tremors and shoot to loot. So if you get that combination, anytime you're just sitting there wailing on an ad, every time ammo's dropping in that mob of things you're shooting,
because it counts
as
constantly
like
feeding
you, constantly feeding
awesome.
you, and
Dude.
reloading all of your guns. So
that's
you just
cool.
keep shooting. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty neat.
Man.
Yeah, I got it on Nameless Midnight, tried it out, and I was like, that seems cool, but I was like, Volatile is just hitting so hard on everything that I was like, and it looks so cool that I'm like, everything's
Splashing
volatile
everywhere.
or nothing. Yeah. But it seems good. I love area of effect type stuff in PvE.
Yeah.
I will say, like, between Strand, the artifact mods, and a lot of the primary weapons that are just juice for ad clear these days that they've been giving us, it's really fun. They've really nailed a lot of the new perks and artifact mods in the last couple of seasons. I've been really impressed with that.
Yeah. So should we talk about the
TWAB?
Yeah,
here.
the difficulty.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the first thing they talk about in the TWAB is they say
that's not spoilers.
In today's update, we reduced Legend and Master enemy HP scalars for non-boss units, which we felt were a little higher than we liked. They reduced the enemy HP scalar in all non-raid dungeon Legend and Master difficulties or activities by 10%, and reduced the co-op enemy HP scalar in Legendary Avalon by 33% in a full fire team.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nerf.
We've also made some additional reductions to commendations requirements so players can reach their milestone at a more enjoyable pace. Reduced Hawthorne's weekly challenge commendation target from 20 to 5. Removed Guardian rank objectives that require players to give commendations from rank 7, 8, and 9. And further reduced commendation score requirements for Guardians rank 7 through 9. Rank 7 is 200. It was 460. Rank 8 is 477. It was 790. And rank 9 is 910. It was 1290.
And let's remember that was already, I think rank 7 already was like 790 or something. So they already had changed it to 460, right? And now they've changed it again two times, right? So you can see like commendations like they thought were going to be popping and happening way more often.
Well, it's also like half of the system, like you said, like with the LFG. So like it's something that like was probably finished and they're like, let's get that out there. Let's get people engaged in it. My questionable thing with it was like, why would you tie it to reward? Because then you start seeing people like farm it. Yeah.
Yes.
And that was a major pain point, I think, for the system. And I know a lot of people who aren't engaging in it now because they don't see any use in it. It's just like reporting somebody.
Yeah, it has a long way to go. I'll say that. But I do like some aspects of it. I just think like the way sometimes you have no time to like do the commendations. I actually didn't know at first that you can look at the full results and click to the left of the name. And that made it so much easier.
Right.
Versus like the one page that's all like supposed to look cool is very hard to use. And so I think I missed a lot of opportunities in using it at first. So I don't know. We have a lot to learn. I think there's something there, but tying it to these ranks and the problem of just
and that
already a
also
problem.
makes it not genuine. You know what I mean? Like I would prefer if there were no rewards at all tied to commendation at all, because now I'm spamming commendations on people because I see the timer clicking down on the scoreboard, and I know I'm about to get kicked back to orbit, and it's like, oh, I gotta get these in. I'm not looking at who did what. I would rather have more time on that screen. I would rather get through an activity and feel compelled, like, dang, this guy was really good at this.
Yeah.
And then have a list of like, not just two, but like a whole list of different kinds of commendations. I could say, had a great build, was helpful, was a leader, all of those things. And actually feel compelled organically to apply one of those to him so that he's got that accolade moving forward. Right now, it has zero meaning. It is completely, null and void of all meaning, because people are just spamming it on me when I get a commendation. I'm like, oh, they're just spamming that on me because they got to get their reward for the week or whatever.
Well, not only that, but it's like the way that it's tied into Guardian ranks. Like I'm sitting here going for Exemplar, right? So I'm a 9 going to a 10. One of the things that you have to do, you have to get the coach requirement. And that is, you have to be commended specifically for ally or leader. So it doesn't really value its own system in that way, where it's like if you were trying to encourage people to engage and rate people, you would see that it would be weighted much differently. But right now everybody's bar looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It forces you into ally or leader. That feels like it is not necessarily.
Yeah, and it depends on the activity you're in, which I get. But I mean, I think to TV's point, there is a weird, like the mastery and leadership stuff feels more organic to me. Where I was like, yo, like you crushed it basically. And then I feel like on the timer, I'm like, wait, did they crush it or were they a leader?
Yeah.
Okay. But after that, I'm like, oh, all right, well, thanks for joining. You were fun, and thanks for being an ally, which you're on the fire team. So those are like, they almost feel like
you didn't grieve.
You were there and you didn't quit.
Yeah.
Which really is what that means. You didn't leave before there's a commendation. So I agree. I think it feels, again, I think there's something there, especially as it plays the LFG. It's early. It feels like it's almost like a beta, and I think that's fine. But doing things like tying it to, like rank 6 as one example and getting to 7, was my biggest first issue. Because first it was 790, then it was 460, and then I was like, and some things move way faster than others. For commendations, like obviously raid commendations are going to move slower than playing like a round of banner and it getting called, and you still get your commendations. So some work to be done there. I don't have a problem with being in the game, but you're right. It needs a lot more tuning to feel more organic. And I also want a few negative. Like I don't want to like pile on people as you did a bad job.
Yeah.
But in other words, like if like legitimately if there's a toxic team member, an AFK, maybe that's just the label. Like everybody said you were AFK. It could be abused, and I understand. But I have to wonder, without that, like, this person, like, made it was, they were teabagging people, whatever. They're annoying. They were toxic in chat, and there's like,
That's what the
this person wasn't.
Would be for, though, right?
Yeah. How about you're you're not fun?
Yeah, you're not fun person.
That was you did not add fun.
Yeah.
And people shouldn't do it though because you sucked or whatever. But I don't know. I feel like there's something to be figured out.
You weren't fun
there.
because you made our team lose because you stink.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard to put that trust in people's hands. I get, but
I mean,
there's definitely been people
that's
that
what
I'm
the
like,
report function should be though. Like if people are breaking the rules of the game, they already function for that.
Yeah, maybe if there's enough just reports too that I don't know. I see the problem. But I liked the YouTube thumbs down button to some degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was super entertaining when somebody did something really screwed up.
But there you go. Like YouTube, right? They still you can thumbs down, but it's hidden, right?
Wasn't that Call of Duty trailer or something that was like the most disliked video in the history of YouTube?
Yeah, what was that?
Yeah, I mean I don't like
exactly, but
the pile on for stuff like that, but there's something there.
Let's say as a creator, I still very much see those thumbs down. So keep them coming.
You still see it in your dashboard.
Aside from making PvE a little bit easier, they're also buffing primary weapons in PvE.
This excites me.
They're increasing the damage of the following weapon types against red and orange bar enemies in PvE. Auto rifles face steep competition from submachine guns within parts of their range, and having a longer possible engagement distance wasn't doing enough to offset it. We don't want auto rifles to defeat combatants faster than SMGs, as that would flip the script and invalidate the lower range options instead, but we did feel like we could close the gap substantially, so they're buffing auto rifles by 25%.
That's a lot.
That is.
Yeah.
This is funny to read because it wasn't that long ago where they're like, we're buffing auto rifles by 4.2%. I remember reading that.
Can I give a little context to this?
Yeah.
Do you know what you know how one of the greatest PvP perks in the history of PvP is kill clip, right?
Yeah.
Everybody loves kill clip. 25%. It's a 25% buff. They just gave auto rifles a permanent kill clip.
That's awesome.
That's an interesting way to look at
it. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot. And that excites me because I am really addicted to Rufus right now.
I really like auto rifles when I'm playing with a controller. Like anytime I'm playing on a console in the living room, I tend to drift toward auto rifles because it's just easier to kind of.
Absolutely. I was talking about that with my good friend KJ Hove yesterday because we were doing some PvE farming together. And he's on PC and he's using his SMG and he's mapping people at range with SMG because on M&K with an SMG you can do that. But when I'm playing on my PlayStation, my SMG doesn't do that. So I gotta pick up the AR. And it just feels a lot more natural, a lot more organic. So so having that buff is really gonna help, I think, controller players out a lot because a lot of these premier SMGs in PvE, you don't have to fight the recoil on an M&K for your input device, and then you can get a lot more range out of them. So, anyway,
yeah, it does play. I was just thinking, it does play against the scalar stuff and the new challenge, of Right, because meaning like 25% probably in like Grandmaster Glassway is like not gonna do a ton for you, but you'd be happy to have it. So maybe on the low end it's gonna feel real nasty, but as you get into legend content and that, like I assume it just obviously it's not gonna feel as crazy that they just get nuked, But stuff like
it's like throwing a bigger stone into the Great Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's already gotten pretty wild with like all the volatile and stuff like that in PvE, which I think is super fun. And so I don't have a problem with that, but like it's kept me away from like a bunch of weapons that I think I've normally like meaning like bows. I really like bows and they're good for like range stuff and the right builds. But like I used to use them just in PvE for like tons of fun, but I'm like, just because you can't proc volatile like a ton, you maybe steer away from it. And same thing with like, man, I've been having so much fun with machine guns because holy crap, like use a void high RPM.
Really
like
that retrofit is real fun this
season. It's crazy. Everything's just exploding. So it is tons of fun, and that's a nice problem to have. And that's why people want to use auto rifles more. But
Pulse,
I don't have a problem.
Pulse rifles, hand cannons, and sidearms are all getting a 20% buff. Also to keep up with SMGs.
Little sidearm buff, TV.
Brigand's Law, man, in PvE. Give me a 20% damage buff to Brigand's Law with Volt Shot. I'm in, baby.
Scout rifles are getting a 10% buff. And SMGs and bows are staying where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like they said, those are the benchmark.
The Pulse one's pretty big, given... Did they say that does not apply to exotics in these, by the way? Did they clarify that?
That's what I was just about to say. It's like they don't clarify that it's specifically just for legendary weapons.
Yeah, because like if Sunshot and, et cetera are getting that same 20%, you're like, okay, well.
Don't sleep on Juju.
Yeah.
Bad Juju with something like Chromatic Fire with a damage buff plus String of Curses. You could actually make bad Juju good in PvE. Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that we don't have a huge reaction, right? Because you're like, yeah, more power in PvE, of course.
Yeah.
Like nobody's like worried about that until you hear that Grandmasters or Legend or Master stuff is too easy, which is not a conversation we're having. So that's why going back to what I said, I don't think these bigger numbers, like everyone's like, cool. Hopefully that's more fun. And yeah, will get me to use some of this stuff versus, everything. Man, I've been using trace rifles and machine guns. And then like, I don't even touch, even like Rufus's Fury is amazing. Is it Rufus's Fury? Is that the name?
Yeah.
Amazing. It's got like 100 in the mag for me and I love it. But I have so much ammo from Void and the volatile stuff. So I'm using like, what is it? Wave splitter or wave shape or whatever the old trace rifle is.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Awesome with like a 900 RPM, the Beyond Light machine gun, and I never touch my auto because I don't need to. Everything's exploding, so we'll see. They got to balance that out, I guess. In other words, but
they dig a little deeper in the TWAB into weapon archetypes. I'm going to read this whole paragraph because I find it funny. They're talking about submachine guns here, and they talk about aggressive frame SMGs have been very strong in PvP meta for the last couple of months, with a handful of outliers taking most of the credit. The Aquilos SMG was something of a mystery to us, as we continually felt and got reports that the gun seemed to have much better stability than its stats would indicate it should compared to other SMGs. Originally, the Aquilos SMG was built in the Warmind era. Was that the second DLC?
Vicarious Visions, by the way.
Okay.
By a different studio.
They're working on Warcraft now, I think. Originally, the Aquilos SMG was built back in the Warmind era when we had fewer guidelines on how to keep weapons balanced, and upon doing a deeper investigation, we found that some custom tuning had been added to the weapon's scope to give it a recoil reduction effect. For comparison, the recoil reduction tuning was like having an effect nearly equivalent to Zen Moment at max strength and was always active. We have removed that custom tuning, and the recoil should now feel in line with other SMGs. We're not firing you. We're just fixing the glitch.
It's a feature.
That's a great reference, by the way. I like that. My stapler.
So yeah, they removed some tuning and custom scope, causing the weapon to have significantly less recoil than intended. The recoil is now in line with other aggressive frame SMGs. That's kind of funny. That's an old ass weapon.
A couple of things. Well, you haven't gotten to some of this yet. So next on that list, I think is Teraba. Is that the next thing there?
They put that way down below, but that's probably.
Or was it? Mm-hmm. Well, it's a good time to talk about it. We're talking about 750 SMGs in PvP. So yeah, Ikelos and Teraba have been running the show, not just on PC,
and
but
Immortal,
also
right?
And Immortal. But Immortal gets to bypass this for now. You know, Immortal's not getting touched until next season, so we got a while. Let me pull up the numbers here real quick. But the Immortal, on its opening weekend of existence, outslayed everything by a landslide in Trials of Osiris. So, on Javelin 4, that week, the Immortal Adept,
dude,
so the Adept one, right, was responsible for 24.5 million kills in Trials. The next best thing was I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's incorrect. That was SMGs as the total. The Adept Immortal was 9.8 million kills. The next best thing was the Ikelos SMG at 4.6. And then the next thing is the regular Immortal at 2.9 million. So you're looking at, roughly a little over 12 million kills with the Immortal. And then the Ikelos SMG at 4.6. So you think you got these 750 RPM SMGs occupying the top 3 slots. The next best thing is, just under 3 million kills. That's nuts. That's a huge difference between those SMGs and everything else. So these nerfs, these 750s, I think they're warranted. I mean, because what you think about what occupies the same space as an SMG? Throw something out. What's another gun archetype that should compete with an SMG in that same range?
Shotgun. Fusion.
A shotgun. A fusion. What about another primary?
Sidearm.
Mm-hmm.
Sidearms as a whole were responsible for 2 million kills that weekend of Trials.
That's higher than I would have thought, actually.
SMGs were 24.5 million. That is huge.
Even if they were as capable,
they were 10% or so.
TV, I know that you're a huge sidearm fan, but even if they're as capable, just because of what they are, they're more difficult to use than a fully automatic SMG, right? So they're always going to be more popular.
But that's the challenge that Bungie faces. I don't envy them because they have to find out where they're going to give and take here. If an SMG is going to be way more easy to use, what is it that sidearms and shotguns and fusions are going to get? And that's one of the things that also the TWAB addresses. One of the things that's going to help combat those SMGs in their designated space is fusion rifles, like you mentioned earlier, Briar, and they're buffing the rapid fire frame fusion rifle family. So it's not going to change like a lot, but it's going to change a little bit. Basically what it's doing is it makes it so that 7-bolt kill can happen on max resilience players, not just players. I think it was like 6 and below earlier. So they're buffing them so that if you land your bolts, you're going to kill a max resilience player now consistently. So that's going to help because right now the player doesn't have to make a hard choice. The player looks at these numbers and they say, I need to be running an SMG, not a shotgun, not a fusion, not a sidearm. I need to run an SMG. So buffing fusion rifles, I know I saw a lot of people on Twitter who are like freaking out about that buff. They're like, please, for the love of God, Bungie, don't. It's just one family of fusion rifles. And it's just making it so that it can consistently kill players regardless of their resilience if that player lands their shot. That's all it's going to do.
Maybe you're right, but maybe Lego shows up next week. All smiles. We'll have to see.
Listen, Lego is a magician. He's a magic man. The things that he does with fusion rifles, they supersede the laws of physics. And that man operates in a plane of existence that I've never seen.
Like you mentioned, fusion rifles, they're getting increased burst damage by 15. Damage per burst goes from 245 to 260. Damage per bolt goes from 27.2 to 28.9. And damage in PvE is unchanged.
And that's just for rapid fire frames?
Just for rapid fire frames.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's like looking Riptide and Cartesian, those types. Okay.
The new Neomuna one's pretty good too.
Nice.
Trace rifles getting increased base damage by 4%. Base damage goes from 12 to 12.5. Reducing precision hit multiplier from 1.4 to 1.35x. Crit damage goes from 16.8 to 16.9. And increase the effectiveness of stability at reducing flinch by 10% at 100 stat. Scales down at lower values. So it'll be more stable, does more damage, and does more damage on crits. Oh, no, it does less damage on crits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that both PvP and PvE?
I think that's just PvE.
Just PvP.
They don't say in this category, I don't think, do they? It's a really long.
They don't make a distinction, do
they? They say that trace rifles are in a precarious spot in the Crucible.
Yeah.
So it obviously
they could get out of hand real fast.
But
if they buff them,
Laser tag weekend, anyone?
Yeah, heck yeah, I got that emblem.
I was out of town that weekend.
That was
dope emblem.
Because I had to watch that all secondhand. I was like,
it wasn't fun, but the emblem's nice.
I thought it was fun.
It was fun for a little bit, but I didn't want to do it for very long.
Sniper rifles are getting reduced recoil by 50% and increased total ammunition by 30%.
Dang. Magazine and reserves by 30%. That's
rapid
pretty big.
fires have been consistently nerfed. Ever since, and this is an interesting conversation to have, is that balancing based on platform. But the very first nerf we ever got to that family of sniper rifles was, do you remember the Twilight Oath from Forsaken? Yeah. That rapid fire sniper from the Dreaming City.
Oh, that's right.
On mouse and keyboard, people were kind of using it as a scout rifle because on M&K you don't have to deal with that kickback nearly to the same degree that you do on a controller. So people were kind of running around in PvP, double body shot to pop, pop, like a scout rifle because it fires at 140 RPMs. It's pretty quick for a sniper. And so first thing they did was they said, this is getting out of hand on PC. Let's nerf the damage. You can no longer double body shot with that family of sniper rifles. So they nerfed the damage on it. Now that feels really bad, by the way, to use both of your special weapon shots, land both of your special weapon shots, and not get a kill for it. Like that's a feels bad. Yeah. I understand why they did it, but it was not a problem ever at all on console, and the console players had to suffer for it. Then on top of that, they then nerfed aim assist values. Then they went in and they nerfed zoom values and how aim assist interacts with zoom on those scopes, especially the low zoom scopes. And those popular snipers in that family were all low zoom. You think Twilight Oath was like the minimum zoom on a sniper rifle. The Omniscient Eye was the minimum zoom on a sniper rifle. So a lot of those just ended up going from pretty fun PvP weapons to just dead in the water. So I kind of like that they're buffing them. I don't think it's going to have a lot of effect though, because it's they're not dialing back any of the nerfs that they made. They're just trying to find other ways of buffing them. But anyways, we'll see.
I mean, the recoil's big, obviously, like when you're firing that fast. But I think there's some just amazing snipers out there. So it'd be interesting to see if people are using these. I was looking up which ones it is. It looks like, like the, what is it? The Irukanji, the new stasis sniper, I think.
Yeah.
Newer, right? Praetus Revenge, Ikelos sniper, and then the old Omniscient Eye, if you remember. There's a few.
I love Omniscient Eye, man.
Yeah.
From Garden. Great gun. And I'm gonna be honest, I think that is one of the most beautiful weapons Bungie's ever made. That is a beautiful weapon. You look at that and you're like, that looks like a freaking Ferrari.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been using Reckless Oracle to auto from Garden so much. I went into Dan's stream and I was like, "Oh, a man of taste. I see you're using the same auto."
like
and then
those
he pulled up
drum magazines on the bottom. Oh,
it's
yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, like a Ferrari. That's a great way to describe it,
Yeah.
man. It's sleek. It's a bit alien, but man, it's just gorgeous. But he has the same role, the Outlaw and Demo one, which I've been just using all the time. It's incredible because it's void. Everything explodes with it. I can't wait for that 25% buff.
I've been using accrued redemption from that raid a lot too in other activities. Oh, so good, so good.
Zealot's Reward, I know Lego would sing its praises. Probably one of the best PvP fusion rifles in the game. So good.
Exotic weapons. The final warning can no longer mark targets through Titan barricades. I didn't know it could do that.
Yeah. You stand behind a barricade and just like target somebody and lock onto them and then just point it up at the sky like.
Yeah, this is the one I think they said was funny, but it was unfair. Yeah, that's what they said. While funny in some cases, it felt pretty unfair to play against, and it was not intended.
Teraba, we mentioned before, reduce the amount of Ravenous Beast energy generated when taking damage from 3% to 1% and reduce zoom from 16 to 15.
That's the big thing is the zoom. Because the zoom value adds
range,
a little over a meter of range on that family of SMG. And on top of that, when you add range, you also add aim assist, and stability is also tied to range values to certain degrees. So, or the way that the stability stat interacts with range changes based on your zoom value. So, anyways, that's gonna be a big deal because Teraba's been just so dominant in PvP because of that extra range that it gets with the zoom value. So reeling that back in a little bit, I think is going to let some other SMGs come to the forefront.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to add. So I've been definitely getting crushed by Adept Immortal, Teraba, and not as many accounts, but definitely. But with looking at this and that, they say not until season 21, which to me feels like, well, everybody played Trials to get this. We're not going to take it away.
We gotta let them play with it. Yeah.
The usual PvP problem, right? It's going to just be Immortal overrunning everything. Do you see with what they're talking about here in the updates has been much change to what I'm describing? Like, will Teraba suddenly not be being used that much? Will we see fewer, Immortal Adepts or more,
you'll see more
being used?
Yeah, you're going to see more Adepts, Immortals, because the other options that compete with it directly are being taken off the table. So you basically had like 3 things up at the top and then everything else, and then you're taking those 2 things away and putting them down here. Now you're left with 1 thing up at the top. So people are going to be using that Immortal a lot more frequently. I think we're going to see in the next season some nerfs to that specific family of SMG. And I think I don't know, if I had to guess, I think what they're going to do is target the stability on these SMGs and how much that stability value matters. Because right now it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't. You can tank your stability on these SMGs, and as long as you've got range and those built-in extra zoom values with rangefinder, Teraba's extra zoom, etc., you can tank your range, and it doesn't matter. I mean, back in the day, we were running around with Iron Reach multi-mox from Iron Banner with like abysmal stability. But since the range was so high, your stability value doesn't matter anymore to an extent. So I think what they're going to do is target that relationship between stability and range. So people don't just full send on range. They've got to get some stability in there too in order to make the gun comply. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that would be my guess.
They might be doing that. We actually skipped this part. For aggressive frame SMGs, what they say is we have a larger change to reduce the damage of the aggressives subfamily that will release alongside Season 21. Wait, aggressive subfamily? Is that different than aggressive frame SMGs? Or no? They're saying...
It's the same thing. Yeah, those 750s.
Okay. So it will release alongside Season 21, and that change will be targeted at shifting the resiliency threshold where the gun can achieve its optimal 0.67 seconds time to kill down to a lower value to force a more reasonable 0.77 against most players, while also decreasing their forgiveness of missed crits. So I don't know, is that maybe it might be all the above, or is it just going to be damage? I don't know.
If it's just damage,
That's all they say here, but
I'm not sure if I guess I must have overlooked that, and I apologize.
there's so much in here. You know,
there's a lot in there. Yeah. My daughter had a gymnastics event tonight, so I was like skimming it while watching the TWAB. Anyways, if all they're doing is targeting the damage, I'm not sure if I'm 100% on board with that, because I don't like when my way to combat your gun is to change my armor stat allocation. You know what I mean? If the answer is for me to spec more into resilience, that changes the way that I play Hunter. You know what I mean? I don't spec for resilience on my Hunter. I'm like a nimble little kitty cat on the battlefield. And that's not how I play Warlock either. I go for glass cannon. I want to have high recovery. I can take damage, dart, win the engagement, dart to cover, and then start regeneration quickly and get back in the fight. You know what I mean? So I don't like when the burden to offset it is on me. You know what I mean? I think that's sort of a cheap way of, or I don't know if not maybe not cheap. I think they should just be more direct about affecting the gun itself. This gun's overperforming. The burden to offset that is not on you, it's on us. We're going to look at some of these stat values on the guns themselves and see how we can change them. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know if it is some of what you said in addition to this hint at what's coming. So we don't know for sure, other than they say they're going to target shifting that resiliency threshold as well as the damage in general. But there could be more. So I'd say wait and see still on that. But that's a very good point and kind of what I was searching for, because I don't play PvP enough. And you're right. You're like, oh yeah, like you don't spec into resilience. You shouldn't have to necessarily.
I do on my Titan, and that's it.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm going to read this whole paragraph for Revision 0 because it doesn't make sense if you don't.
Okay, go for it.
4 times the charm working when Revision 0 went into Hunter's Trace is a fun and intended interaction, but it caused some unfortunate issues. Activating it too early while the perk was up caused the weapon to overflow its limited mag size and return to the normal pulse rifle mode. We have made a fix so that FTTC can continue to work while Hunter's Trace is active, but it will not be able to grant ammo until all shots have been expended. This means you can still enjoy the 2 free shots provided by the perk as long as you hit all 4 Hunter Trace rounds without worrying about being kicked out of the mode. In addition, we have buffed the damage of the Hunter's Trace rounds by 25% in PvE, and we have buffed the Hake Heavy Burst rounds by 75% in PvE. This will now make it more of a trade-off when choosing between the Origin perks after dealing more damage in the primary mode, but charging Hunter's Trace more slowly, or dealing less damage, but charging the bonus shots more quickly. Everybody got that?
Maybe.
4 times
I haven't used it enough since I got it.
4 times the charge will now be reset when entering Hunter's Trace. This will prevent the issue of firing a single shot while in Hunter's Trace and being forcibly returned to the pulse rifle mode when FTTC activates. Increase PvE damage of Hunter's Trace rounds by 25% and increase PvE damage of Hake Heavy Burst rounds by 75%.
Yeah, I think I'm still when it's going on in my mind, I'm like, wait, I think I finished, some of the main first steps, but don't you have to level that gun up like Osteo Striga, right? Which I don't think I'm fully leveled up. So to me, I'm like, I haven't used it enough.
Yeah,
sure. Unlocking all of those steps or all those extra perks and whatnot for your crafting purposes requires you to go back into that exotic mission, which was a really cool mission, by the way. Several times to get it fully leveled up, but that gun continues to confuse my simple mind. It's a really cool gun, a lot of highly customizable. But I don't know. Do any of you guys use Revision 0 much in PvE or in PvP?
No. The enticement of the 20% buff that pulses get in PvE versus red and orange bar enemies, that seems, if that's on top of all of this,
does that make you want to use it more than Outbreak in PvE? If Outbreak gets that buff
just
too?
So good.
I guess it depends. do I want to run a pulse and a sniper at the same time?
Yeah.
or do I want those
Graviton
swarms
Lance with the catalyst plus volatile rounds? Like, is that good? Does Revision Zero really have a chance to be competitive on the high end of things in PvE or in PvP?
You're breaking Mercury's heart.
I love Merc. Merc's a great guy. Merc's a great guy. And I think Revision Zero is very cool. I put it in like the A-, maybe B+ tier in PvP.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't see it. I mean, every now and then you'll run into one, but you just don't see it. Not in my lobbies, not in trials, doesn't exist there.
So one thing I am remembering about it, if I've got this right, I'm looking at my dim. It comes with anti-barrier, which I believe pulses are anti-barrier right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
but next season, probably not. And therefore, if you want a pulse or something anti-barrier for free in that slot, then that's probably where it's okay. I don't know if there's, because I'm looking at Arbalest and Wishender.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any other exotics in the top slot there, but probably for that, you're like, oh, it's solid, you know?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. But if you're running, like, I find myself running double special a lot, and Arbalest is always in that slot, and there's nothing it doesn't compete. So
I know.
Do you want to shoot your pulse rifle 4 times to break that barrier, or do you want to shoot Arbalest once? Bingo.
Or in the we found out yesterday, it was like in the legendary version of the weekly story mission against Callus, it one taps his shield. Like, you just one burst him, he's done.
Boom.
They go on to talk about the future a little bit at Season 21 launch. They're doing a sweeping rework of weapon hip-fire reticles to better display useful information to players, such as accuracy, aim assist, charge state, exotic perk state, and etc. That could be interesting.
Yeah, I thought that sounded really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, it went on, as soon as I read it, I was like, wait, does this mean, honestly, there's not a ton of info in like a hip-fire reticle.
No.
What does that mean? Like, when you start firing, are we going to start seeing more info, or
is it going to get bigger and smaller? Is it going to have like little pips?
I think it sounds cool though.
Yeah.
Anytime they can put more information in front of you that doesn't obstruct your view and also doesn't require you to look into the bottom left of your screen, I'm on board. I'm on board with it. Communicate as much information to me as possible without making me look away from my target.
Is this video shows? Oh, I thought that was about. Yeah, again, we've been running around. Do they show a little bit of this in the video? It looks like. So if you want to see more on that, go into. They show you a little test section with a few things. Looks like a sword.
I like when they do that.
Yes, a little behind the scenes.
Peek behind the curtain a little bit.
The aggressive frame SMG nerf that we talked about, a 10% PvE buff to sniper rifle damage. Buffs and adjustments to more than a dozen exotic weapons, including Graviton Lance and Salvation's Grit.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all coming at the launch of Season 21.
Yeah, we're talking like May for this, right? Something like that.
Like May 23rd.
End of May.
God, that's still a long way away.
Yep.
Beyond that, in the future, we're going to be taking a look at how Zoom interacts with damage fall off and the base damage fall off ranges of all weapons in general. Are they going to separate Zoom from range?
Zoom from damage drop off range. Yeah. That's what it sounds like. Which, you know what? I kind of get it. Because right now, Zoom value makes the choice for you. In PvP, at least. As somebody who reviews guns for PvP purposes, I can tell you that people go to zoom value very quickly when they're looking at a gun. For example, the Teraba, or let's go with Drang. Sidearms were not meta at all in PvP, like ever, until Drang came along and said, I have 1 extra zoom. And then for that season, do you remember Season of Haunted? PvP was dominated by Drang.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's it got going for it? Zoom. You know, it doesn't have damage perk, doesn't have kill clip or multi-kill clip. I mean, it's got rampage, but no one's using it in PvP. It's because that extra zoom value just is a 1-to-1 translation directly into way more range.
Yeah, I mean,
you're talking like 1.5 meters of range, and that seriously matters.
Yeah, I didn't even play a ton, but I was like, it just feels like a hand cannon almost.
It's a pocket hand cannon. Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy. And I didn't realize that so much of that comes from the zoom. I honestly, I don't,
Because
I'm
everything
uninformed on
interacts with
PvP.
it. Your
Yeah.
zoom value dictates your damage drop off range, and way more than just the range stat value alone. So if you were to try and maybe you had a gun that doesn't have as much zoom as Drang, maybe you have a Keening, which is another adaptive sidearm, and you wanted to reach Drang ranges, you needed to get like an additional 25 range on your gun to make up for just the one zoom
Just the
value difference. Is
Wow,
huge.
that is a big difference.
It's huge. So, and not only that,
Interesting.
stability is tied to zoom value. Zoom value pushes out your range within, which then affects the way that stability interacts with zoom. So your gun has less recoil, and it affects things like accuracy cones and aim assist values as well, where they start to taper off in your duels. So it has a lot of things that are wrapped up in it. So it's a huge buff.
Yeah, was it is legal action like similar in that range? I saw you think you were posting about that.
Yeah, legal action has 22 zoom value, I think, which makes it really like a lot of people are using the philotactic spiral right now, which is a great pulse rifle. It's a great pulse rifle, but legal action. The thing with legal action, obviously, is that you can't craft it, you can't target farm it. But if you are lucky enough to get a god roll legal action to drop, it's a better gun, hands down, because it's got 4 more zoom, which equates to like, I don't know, on that archetype of pulse. Please feel free to correct me in chat if I'm wrong, but I think it's like an extra 35 range.
Oh,
It's
something
massive.
big. Yeah, I tried it
Massive.
because I saved some because I liked it. I remember, but I hadn't tried it in a while, and you got me back. I think in Banner, I was like, I'm gonna pop that on because I had a surplus rampage or something.
Bingo. Surplus
Yeah,
rampage is a great roll in that gun.
yeah, and it definitely it was crushing. And the zoom,
Yeah.
it's far, so if they get close to you, that's the only problem. But man, it was crushing.
That's what
for
your
sure.
other weapon slot's for.
Exactly. Get
Bingo.
that sidearm in there, man.
That's right.
They go on to say zoom and perks like rangefinder that manipulate zoom have become a requirement on several weapon types, either to compete at all in the sandbox or to allow the weapon to exceed its intended engagement ranges. This has led us to begin to consolidate zoom values on certain weapon archetypes, which removes an important lever that we can use to modify weapon feel, given the effect zoom has on field of view, recoil reduction, and aim assist fall off. We will be investigating decoupling damage fall off from zoom. This would be paired alongside a refresh of the base damage fall off values to compensate, which should allow us to better control the engagement ranges of individual archetypes, while at the same time letting us to continue to use zoom as a tuning knob for weapon feel without dramatically changing their performance. This is a big change.
Really important paragraph that I think almost nobody commented on
Feels like
Twitter and the
surgery.
forums I saw.
Yeah, it really is. It's like a
big
fundamental
deal.
change to the way the weapons work.
Yeah, it's a big deal. But I think it's really cool that they're to the point that they understand their own game so well at this point that they can go that far under the hood and start tweaking things. I respect it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not to be overlooked. Like it starts by talking about zoom and all that, but it's comma and the base damage fall-offs of ranges of all weapons in general. So that's yeah. The base systems are going to feel different. So until we touch it, we just won't know. But I have always bragged about how good, obviously Bungie's gun feel is, and like so, I have every confidence
It's
that
a science, yeah.
yeah, as much as it will be some changes, it probably won't be like super dramatic, but for those that play a lot, hopefully it just feels good across the board.
Sounds like it'll be easier for them to adjust guns because they won't have to have this like one.
Yeah.
Like they've got all these really twiddly fine knobs, and then they got this huge chunker, like fucking zoom.
Yeah.
Like you can fine tune the little ones, but then when you move that one, it's like it moves everything all out of whack. You got to redo all the little ones again.
100%.
They also have a really interesting story, a peek behind the developer curtain from cinematics director James Myers about the cinematics where you see Kvastov and why it's in there and why it's not. And that's worth a read. I'm not going to read it here, but you should definitely check out the TWAB if you want to take a look. They also are giving us a bunch of very cool wallpapers, desktop wallpapers. Very, very cool. You'll probably see one of them in the thumbnail for this episode.
Yeah, Daddy Nezrak. That's a nice one.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I like the giant puka.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really nice.
There's some really cool ones. Yeah, it's a mix of like in-game and conceptual.
Yeah, some abstract
stuff as well.
looking stuff. Very
nice.
Cool. Oh, they got some phone ones as well. Some high-res, like kind of vertical ones.
Yeah, actually, I really like the sort of high fantasy Marasov one. It's probably the only one that stands out to me is like, I would use the term like high fantasy, where going back to early on before Destiny came out and we actually had seen some concept art that never made it in the game. It just has that vibe of like very fantastical feel. And you think about what comes after Final Shape, we don't know yet. So I've always liked stuff that looks like this.
It really that specific one kind of takes me back to the Destiny 1 motif, And I liked a lot about Destiny 1 captured this very interesting balance in its motif of being both sci-fi futuristic and also being somewhat regal.
Yeah.
Like Knights of the Round Table, dated. So it combined those two things, hyper futuristic and dated regal
like
vibe.
Fantasy
I don't know.
Sci-fi combined.
And they did it so well that it also permeated other parts of the game, like even the soundtrack. I still hear the main menu, press X to launch Destiny 1, you know what I mean? That music played to that vibe so well. And I don't know that I think Destiny 2 is a beautiful game and I love a lot of the aesthetics, but I feel like we moved away from that motif and I kind of some days I miss it and I want to go back.
Yeah, it's really interesting hearing you say that, and that's kind of what I guess what I'm seeing. Like Lightfall was also a big swing in terms of this highly vibrant, highly shiny vibe. Obviously, it mixes
chromed
in
out cloud.
Yeah, chromed out.
Yeah,
good way to put it. Neon, but it mixes in with the Season of the Spice and stuff, which I also really do like. But there is something about that I would use the term high fantasy. Almost old school RPG feel of that art, that there's definitely something there that's maybe even sentimental to the beginnings of Destiny. So I never thought of maybe they go more in that direction in the future. Who knows?
A friend of mine, Zepha, described Lightfall as a filler arc for the overall mode of what Destiny is going on with has going on right now. And it's just like it's progressing the story forward. It's changing just a few things to grasp it in for all of the aesthetic, and then you just move on from there.
Yeah, it's funny. I had forgotten. I had a conversation with my community about it. I was like, well, I totally forgot that, Lightfall was going to be the end. And then they had to introduce Final Shape and shift things around. And I don't know if you guys talked about it on the show. I completely forgot.
I didn't know that.
Part of it was, dude, you did. That's what I'm saying, bro. I totally... We talked about it, but meaning... Oh, you're joking with me.
No,
wow.
I am not joking.
Are you being serious or not?
I am 100% serious. I didn't know that.
Dude,
I mean, maybe I knew it at one point, but...
You did because we all announced it together, but I totally forgot it was like sort of a trilogy. The Final Shape saga, or was not it was the saga, the Dark and Light saga, and then we knew that Lightfall was the end. And anyway, I just had forgotten because of the way they I went back. It was very sly when they announced, the Final Shape and Lightfall will be there too. And like, we just sort of moved on. They're finishing it up, but we were supposed to be done by now. I forgot.
I mean, a lot of things were up in the air during COVID, right? Like, I'm not blaming anybody.
It's all a blur, man.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Fran, because this has been an ongoing discussion for the past several weeks here on the show. What happens after Final Shape? Are we wiping our inventories and our characters? We're moving on to new characters? Are we venturing out past our solar system? Is it a hard reboot? Like, what do you think's happening?
Yeah, I've been getting that question a lot in context of this. And for me, I'm more on the side of, they're not doing Destiny 3, but I feel like they have been, secretly, as you would at most game companies for the last, hopefully, 3 to 4 years, if not more. You've been trying to figure out, like, all of this, but this team's been working on that thing that sort of starts the next saga, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe moving past our solar system. I mean, I haven't even thought about it. I'm not a lore guy, so I have no idea. But my hope is that, frankly, yeah, the guns and the gear, like that we do get a restart and that there's something about them that is, maybe it's more high fantasy, right? Now that I'm looking at the photo. But for a while I said more alien. And like, I don't know what all that means, but I'm like, you can imagine having more, whatever, intricate moving parts. It's weird guns and weird powers. So yeah, I don't know if we'll keep light at the center of it or not. But I feel like it's got to be something like that, because how long can we go on with another just extension of all
They're
this
gonna have to keep
gear?
adding vault space and vault.
Yeah, like do
Yeah.
you really, as much as I love the Garden of Salvation gear, like you now have 6 alternatives for that gun that are just as good, and you can
That's
craft them. And so you got to hit a point where it's like, how many years in a row can you do it? So I feel like we do need to wipe either most of our inventory, or it's going to get like reshaped. You know, I mean, might be a
so
I, for
happy
one-
to hear you say this.
I, for
because
one,
I
cannot
totally
wait.
agree, and no one has backed me up on this.
Oh, a lot of
bro.
other people with TV. Wait, though, just so I understand, your community or others are thinking it's going to be more of like,
Everyone
just
thinks
like-
we're just gonna continue. We're just
No,
gonna keep
we
plodding
can't-
along.
We can't just keep going like this.
just it's a new story, but you keep your
Yeah.
vault and like you get some new exotics
You
and
keep your character, and
maybe a new
I think we
subclass.
gotta wipe. Like, how they cannot continue to balance this. Balancing this game right now is a nightmare for them because of
Yeah.
how many factors. How many times like a small patch has broken Telesto? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, the content vault makes people so goddamn bitter, and that's the only way they can keep this game running.
Yeah.
Because of bloat.
But I can't wait personally to get an exotic quest and re-earn Galahorn for the 4th time.
Like, I have an emotional connection to my Guardian and all my gear.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But I've been doing this since
Yeah.
2017, right? Was when Destiny 2 launched. Is that correct? That's right.
I think so.
2017 was D2 launch.
God,
And we've just
dang,
been
man,
accumulating.
that's a long
since
time
then.
ago.
We've just been accumulating since then.
Yeah,
Okay?
I haven't thought deeply enough though on there is something of like when you have an MMO that exists for that long, and this is supposed to be an extension of it. That's why I don't know, and I joked about things getting reshaped. Like, you've got to solve for the problem that somebody just is going to start next February or whatever.
Yeah.
And then maybe the next year and a half later, then what? Everything they grinded for and earned, like they do have this problem. I paid for all these seasons. I just paid this. And
Every other game I play, I've moved on from, and I grinded the heck out of that stuff too.
Dude, I'm with you. I'm more than happily play a brand new game, but there's a huge problem when they take away the Red War content from years ago that nobody's gonna play anyway. Admit it, but people are freaking upset, and that's like a small thing. So you can imagine, especially when they say it is still Destiny 2, of like, oh, by the way, all your gear is gone, all those raids are gone. You're gonna have to solve for like still the legacy content might exist, right? Maybe you have access to an old vault, and like, but I don't know. What that means for the future.
Might just stay up if you really are so connected. You can stay in the Destiny 2 grind. You can still do your nightfalls and your rotators and keep all your guns and your builds. Sure.
So see, on that, I actually do. It will be the D2 servers. I'm just saying that it will be. I'll continue to use the term reshaped. I like that since we're going final shape. But I think it's more of that than it is a fake. We're not going to do Destiny 3, but we actually kind of did. Like, I don't think it's about the branding. Yeah. I don't think it's about the branding. I think it's more about solving for some of the things I mentioned. Like, you know, there are some times I want to go back and do Vault of Glass. Like, I don't want it taken away. And that's from like 2014, right? So maybe they have legacy content tab. Maybe they even have somewhere in between. But I'm hopeful that, we're kind of getting away from. I've been hanging around the tower a bit.
MMOs
even
do
the one
this,
that blew up.
right? They have like big world-changing events that just like, you know, move the story forward, move the world forward. And like, yeah, I mean, you lose some of the old stuff, but like, you don't want to play the same game for the rest of your life, do you?
Well, I mean, we have been for a pretty big part of it.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you about a little something called job security, Briar.
Yeah. True. Got that to think about, too.
Yeah.
What else do we got to talk about?
My thought going in.
Yeah.
So after the final shape, because they said that there's like going to be an epilogue to the final shape as well, that we would be getting.
Right.
We go through the portal and the traveler.
Yeah.
Okay. stay with me.
I'm with you.
Go through the port. We go through the portal in the Traveler. It's all psychedelic. It's all gravy, baby.
Okay.
It's all gravy, right? So we get there. We land. We find out that the 9 have got some weird stuff going on in this alternate plane. We stumble upon this house, and out walks Tannix. And he's like, "Happy to see you, Guardian. This is the best day of my life. How you doing?"
I feel like we got off on the wrong foot.
Yeah. 3 times, man. It's tough.
But I feel like the sexual tension is there, and we got to break through it.
Yeah. I mean, he looks good in that cape. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we need to talk about, or should we go over to Twitter questions?
Was there anything else burning in the community outside? Yeah, the challenge level, getting our master content.
We hit most of the stuff that's relevant to this
problems.
week.
Solo Nezarec happened this week.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Nezarec
That's a
got
good one.
buffed.
No, he got soloed.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
With the promise of
He
a
got
buff,
scuffed.
but he got soloed.
Do we know the name of the player that did that?
I
I've read
saw
it
it
several
too.
times.
I'll look it up in
was-
the meeting.
Hey, whoever you are, congrats. That's
Yeah,
pretty
nice
cool.
job.
I know a lot of people have been giving you a lot of crap.
I'm looking at it.
That's still pretty cool, though.
Got
I mean,
a lot of
this
hate at
just
the top.
I believe it was
As long as he didn't use a Cronus Max, I don't care.
all I know is his reaction was
GG.
gold. You could just tell he'd
Who
been
was that
working,
that
he'd
used
been
the Cronus
grinding that
Max?
out.
It looks like the Snazzy Rock, by the way, with
Snazzy
a
Rock.
triple Z. Triple Z.
Nice job.
Snazzy Rock. Congratulations.
What was the controversy? He used some kind of exploit to do it?
I don't know.
Really?
I think I saw chat help me out because I do not want to paint anybody in a bad light, especially when I'm ignorant on a topic. But I feel like I saw a clip where he was like up in a cheese spot of some kind where Nezarec couldn't reach him. So he basically negated Nezarec's ability to fight back during damage phases. But that being said, it looked like it was a lot to juggle even then because he's got to do DPS, switch to a shoot to loot gun, shoot the loot that's on the or the ammo boxes that are on the ground, reload his, and go back to DPSing. It's still a very impressive feat nonetheless. And listen, I was cheese spot solo and raid bosses when I was in diapers. Okay, listen, we've been doing this. This is what we
That's how
do as
Guardians
gamers.
do.
So let's not pretend that this is some foreign thing and we need to crucify this guy for it if that is the case.
Who
But,
were the two Cabal guys?
The Shield Brothers.
The Shield Brothers, and there was like that one little spot in the wall that
Yeah,
you stood in it just right.
Huddled in the corner and just plinked them.
I mean, I actually have the paragraph up. It's probably only like, I don't know, 8 sentences
Yeah.
of how they did. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is how the Snazzy Rock explains it. So this starts with me using Ariana's Vow, a blinding grenade launcher, and having a rocket for DPS. I use Ariana's for the crits on Nez, and the GL for the Colossus and the ads. I pretty much do the encounter as normal while using Sun Bracers to nuke ads around the map for heavy special ammo drops. Once I finish the last node, I swap to Fellwinter's Helm loadout to Finisher the Colossus for a 20-second debuff. After that, I run under the Flower for my damage phase. This is only for the first and second DPS. I swap to Luna's loadout and place my well, then swap to Starfire loadout with a Volt Shot weapon and my rocket. Okay, is that still right? Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot more into detail. I kill an ad for a Volt Shot, then as soon as Nezarec starts damage, I hit him with a Volt Shot and do my rotation. After that, I do the same setup until third phase damage. For this damage phase, I need to have full special ammo to pull off the kill with Merciless, so I need my damage to be good enough for only rockets, but I also need to save 1 rocket. We're almost done. Once I hit Final Stand, I swap to Tractor with Lunazon, apply Tractor, place my Rift, then swap to my Final Stand damage loadout. From there, I'm using Merciless. The key thing with this weapon is the perk Impetus. This perk is pretty much like the old kill clip. It grants the gun a 50% boost to damage for 5 seconds when getting a kill. Huge W that it's over. I'm so happy to be done. GG's to running all over this challenge.
Easy.
Listen, that's impressive.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's impressive. That's
Yeah,
a
a lot of
whole
things to
lot
juggle
of
there.
math. Yeah. Holy cow.
So much.
That,
And the clip's a minute and 27 seconds long.
yes, switching loadouts, of course, like that's fascinating and interesting. That in-game tool, obviously. I wonder if you could have done it with Dim. You couldn't, right? Because no, you couldn't have, because you couldn't switch in orbit, or you could only switch in orbit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's interesting that it brings these new tools to the game as well. Just switching loadouts. You see people do that in like Diablo 4. I was watching some people be dragging in abilities that, you know, they have a cooldown spot and they're like trying to use multiple things. So
is this person a content creator? Did they post this?
I mean, they already have 6.
Yeah, right.
He posted it on Twitter and it's got 13,000 views on it right now.
Nice.
They're a Destiny content creator because they have a lot of like 3-man solo caretaker, solar Templar, 1 cleanse challenge, etc. So a lot of that type of content on the Snazzy Rocks channel.
Nice job.
I respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were saying before the show that like anytime somebody solos raid, it always relies on some sort of like exploit, right? You're exploiting some system in some way to allow that.
Yeah,
to
you've
happen.
got to bypass what the raid team wanted you to do in some way, shape, or form. Sure.
And it's always impressive when people figure it out and then can execute on it.
Yeah. Yeah, because part of it is understanding. You got to get into the mindset of the raid designers too, and understand what they're, you know, how they tune to everything and find out how to beat the system. It's impressive.
The description actually was crazy. It was fun to read. That's why I was like, wait, there's so much being used and changed from like exotics and switch it, which is neat, and then having to worry about ammo conservation and everything in between.
That's always the
and
part
everything
that
has to
right?
line up, right? You got to get enough ammo drops during all that.
How many tries did you lose just because you're like 1 short on a rocket?
Right.
Yeah.
But you know it was painful in the way that, you know, they had ended that. Like, I'm so glad I'm done with this.
Yeah.
So it was
the yell, man. The yell.
Right?
Yeah. Apparently, people
so
were
joyous.
saying that at the end, that's what people were reacting to, is whatever the reaction to finally doing it was pretty wild.
Listen, if you want to judge the man's reaction, you get it done and react in the way that you want, and then stack it up next to his. It's
you just sip a little bit of tea, and that is how you do it.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I screamed when I got my first drops out of Alta Glass. Like, that was the most excited I ever was, of course, back in the old days. But you can imagine like trying to solo stuff. I mean, heck, I just screamed so much getting this weekly legend content done with Callus. So yeah, I was like,
when I finally hit rank
God.
7 on my journey.
Yeah, please, we need that reaction.
Oh my god,
we need this reaction.
I'm a
yes.
king.
Oh, you should take his reaction and just put it over your clip.
Dude, you should have it queued up in your OBS for when you finally do it. Yeah.
Right.
That would be amazing.
I really should do that.
That'd be wonderful.
All right, we're going to move on to some Twitter questions. Sith Wicked says, why do you think this season's called Defiance? Who is defiant against who? Oh, times you wish Mylan was here.
Yeah.
Well,
I have
the
no
seasonal
idea.
content is about defying the Dark Legion or whatever they're called, right?
Shadow Legion.
The Shadow Legion, they come in, they think we're the head honchos now. We got the blessing of the witness. We've embraced the darkness. We're gonna take your people. There's nothing you can do about it. And we stand up and we defy them and say, nah, we're coming in. I know you've got an impenetrable ziggurat, but we're literally walking through different planes of existence to get in there and defy your rule. And I think a lot of it does have to do with Amanda, and we've got characters like Amanda, we've got Devrim, who are not guardians, and they're willing to stand up and fight a losing battle.
I always forget Devrim's not a guardian because he's so fucking cool.
Yeah, he's rad as hell.
Devrim
cool.
K. Guardian. Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. It's like defying against that. It looks like we've lost, but yeah,
we're refusing to go down. Yeah,
I don't know. My one's gonna make fun of me if I say too much. So, but
Don't listen.
let him, lambast you guys about it.
That's right.
The Black Guardian says, in the new RE4 remake, the merchant looks suspiciously like Xur. In what other games would you like to see Xur appear? Mortal Kombat? Elden Ring? FIFA? Yes, all of those.
Elden Ring is an easy fit.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
most part.
Mortal Kombat's a pretty easy fit too.
Cult of the Lamb.
Yep, that would work.
Yes.
The next Mario Party.
Yep. I'm in.
Mario Kart. Yes.
Honestly, I would like to see the merchant come to Destiny. I like the merchant. Although I heard his voice lines aren't as good as they were in the original. I haven't played it myself.
They changed the voice, I think, right?
Really?
It's not, what are you buying?
It's
all like,
hey there, what are you buying?
Hello. Yeah, now it's not that at all, I don't
Now
think.
it's,
that's too bad.
what'll it be, Toots?
You want to watch? I got watches.
Oh my God. Which is almost like what Xur, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, Xur is maybe more based on that merchant, just with like the one face than we realized. Yeah, totally. Actually, it's totally like.
I don't know where this picture, the Black Guardian, got this picture, but man, it super looks like Xur.
The new one.
Yeah. I can't wait to play that game. Have you played that yet, Fran?
Just the demo. I mean, I was a huge fan of the original. I just don't own it yet or anything, but that game is awesome. It looks great.
AceDog00 says, "What's up, my good people? What is your favorite cheese in game and food? Also, I love what you do for me, Toyota. Yeah, you thought it was a real question, but is just a Nezarec sales ad."
Wait, is this a sales ad for Toyotathon?
It was like 2 weeks ago that you kept reading Twitter questions that were just people plugging their stuff. Remember that?
Really?
You were a little hungover, so I feel like I needed to remind you of that.
That was a rough week. Chris Benoit says, "If you had to be stranded on an island for a year and had to pick one disciple to be stranded with, which one would you pick? They can't harm you and are cooperative. Rolk, Callus, or Nezarec?" Callus, absolutely. How much wine does this desert island have?
Listen, Callus is not my favorite, but I feel like if I'm stuck somewhere, I want to be with the guy who's like, who's gonna fill my cup, man? Let's go.
Yeah. We're going down drinking.
I think it's Rolk just because he has kind eyes.
He has 6 eyes.
Yeah, all of them kind.
Devarian says, "Do you think if Amanda gets brought back as a guardian, would she be a hunter because of her free nature, or a titan because she always was ready to protect people, or a warlock because she can't jump?"
I think she's done.
I
don't think she's coming back. Well, there can't be new ghosts, so it would have to be a ghost that never had a guardian, right? So I think she's done so. But if she were to be a guardian, if I'm going to indulge the person asking the question, I think she would probably end up being a hunter just because of her history. She's a little bit renegade. She's she was a wanderer. She was defiant against authority in every stage of life, and but also highly motivated to do good by people regardless of what it cost her. So I think hunter kind of fits with her.
Yeah, I think so too.
This feels like a Destiny is a world where we're all immortal beings that can die over and over again just by dancing off of a cliff. And this season brings stakes with it.
Yeah.
Which hopefully will stick around, because I don't know. I'm kind of over Marvel stuff. Like, if there's some real stakes to a story, I would, and that sacrifice, however you feel about that sacrifice or that story or how short it was, I would want that to have some meaning to it. So I don't think I would hope that she doesn't come back.
Right. I agree.
Hey Blaze says, "Do you guys have any post-divorce advice for a fellow guardian asking for a friend?"
Let me ask real quick.
Well,
I mean, that's going to be pretty individual to the person who's going through that, right? I'd say, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, try and fill your time up.
Yeah. Yeah. So divorce has a lot of overlap with a lot of other things. As someone who's done a little bit of counseling, you see a lot of the same things from people who maybe um have lost like a pet that was dear to them, or even lost like a close friend. Um, and what happens is your day to day changes in a lot of ways. So there's a lot of parts of your day that often were filled with this other person, this other thing, and now it's just emptiness. And that emptiness is a reminder of what you've lost. So, first thing you should do is definitely pay attention to those moments for the first, whatever season that you need to wade through that and just kind of come to terms with it. And then the second thing you want to do is start finding creative ways to fill those times with other things that you love and are passionate about, and create some new routines for yourself. That's going to help you move past it. Things that are healthy too, not flippant things. Fill those times with things that are meaningful to you in some capacity, and that are productive.
Friends I know who've thrived through that kind of transition have often picked up new hobbies and gotten like way into them, like mountain biking or rock climbing, stuff like that, where they just kind of like they really try and fill their time with really fun stuff that also puts them into a new community where all of a sudden you're on Facebook groups, you're talking to new people, and you got something you can research, and so your alone time is filled with stuff, and you also got a new community to hang out with.
Bingo.
Yep. That's really good advice, especially on the healthy side. Where I can't relate to that at all. But absolutely, on the side of like, I feel like I don't have enough time to get in 5,000 steps a day, which is recommended. Some people say get outside for 2 hours a day. Things that affect you the rest of your life, but also every day. Sunshine, etc. And I know it sounds like the tree hugger stuff, but I'm sitting inside under LEDs with these guys. Like it's super important. And so on that front, maybe to what TV was saying, you can look at it and be like, you know what? I don't have any excuses right now if I've got the time to look to stuff like that and develop really good habits that will stick with you for the rest of your life. And maybe not even just the side of like, some people are like, you can play more Destiny, and sure, there's nothing wrong with that. But maybe look to stuff that's like a cornerstone of the rest of your life, developing new habits.
Yeah.
Mr. Goodbye says, question for Dan, are you currently wearing the sloth head? If not, why not?
It's back there. So,
it's right there. You can see it.
It's not a charity
thing. So why aren't you wearing it?
It's not a charity thing. That's a charity thing. You put your money towards a charity like Second Helpings, based out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and we wear that occasionally.
Are you from Indy?
Yeah,
I'm from Indy.
Yeah. You're
North
from Indy.
Side. Yeah, originally.
Hey.
I grew up north side Indy.
I grew up 30 minutes away, moved up to Muncie, then back to Indy.
There we go. Indianapolis is the only city I've ever been in where you walk into a liquor store and you're in a cage. They serve you through the cage.
I love Indy. I think Indy's
that was Fountain Square
city
for a long time.
And I'm in Muncie all the time. My parents live just on the outskirts of Muncie, so I go down there all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm cool. from Illinois.
Who's your connections, man?
That's right.
Hero79 says he's now having ChatGPT write his questions for him, which I frankly think is cheating, but I'm going to allow it this time. If you had the ability to turn any object into a living, breathing creature for a day, which object would you choose, and what would you do with it?
Wait, did you say if you could choose an? Can you say that one more?
Any object, you can turn it into a living, breathing creature for a day. What object do you choose, and what do you do with it?
Is this before or after it stops screaming?
I think that depends on the object.
Yeah.
Oh, why I'm confused is like you said you could turn it into any sort of living, breathing thing, but I didn't know it's suggesting it would still be the same object.
Yeah, if
I was thinking like, why would I turn my cup into like a giraffe? Like I see. They want it to still be like a living cup or something. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. Got it.
I know,
So
dude, yeah, I got it.
Does one thing count as a bag of things?
I'll allow it.
Okay.
Breyer's the judge.
then all of these.
What is that?
They're
they're the little
hands.
finger hands.
The tiny little hands. You just have them creeping around like little spiders.
Well, it was
walking
only
around
one
your
object,
office.
though, right?
But if they're in a bag and they all become,
I find that
Now,
I think that would be
Briar-
handy to have around. Like, hey, little hands,
all right.
can you bring me a beer? And they like go and like scamper off.
Yeah, they're all like,
Hey, little
just-
hands.
I was just gonna say I was
Never mind, like I
envying TV's whiskey tonight. What are
what do
you
you
drinking,
got?
by the way?
Oh,
know?
I'm just drinking some Bards. So Bardstown, they're a great distillery. They've had a lot of really good releases. Like their Discovery series is pretty highly acclaimed in the
Is
whiskey
it
community.
bourbon or just like American whiskey?
Yeah. But just this year, at the beginning of the year, first quarter, they started releasing their own distillate that's not sourced from other distilleries. Because that's what they've done in the past, is they're going to other distilleries and hand selecting barrels that they think are going to mix really well. But obviously, whiskey making takes a long time. So just this year, they started releasing with their Origin series their own distillate out of their own stills from 6 to 8 years ago, and it's really good.
That sure looks
really
good.
good.
But that was my answer, though. I was like, oh, I'd like to actually turn a bourbon bottle into like a. It's like does it talk?
Yeah.
Like having
Tell me
like,
a story.
hey,
Tell me
The
about
because
it.
bourbon's bottles
because at
can
first
talk.
you're like, what do you think? And you're like, well, I'm getting notes of caramel and this and that, and then. But then, as you keep going, getting a little low here, man. Might want to slow down a little bit. And then you get
I
to the
think
bottom,
you've
and it
had
starts
enough.
like freaking out. I assume that's like it's like lifeblood.
That's my body. That's my body.
I think it would be a fast.
I need you to stop now.
Come on, man, dude. There's not much left. Exactly. I think it would be fun.
That's why I asked before or after it stopped screaming, because I just immediately think of anything you turn from an inanimate object into an animate object, it immediately has existential dread.
But I don't want to live. It's like that was it Toy Story 3 or where the trash, the like spork, because it's like, no, I don't want to be a person. I want to be trash.
Yeah.
Get me away. Yeah, it's like that.
I don't know. If you picked something that was intrinsically cool, like a Lamborghini, and it
Ferrari,
became a Ferrari, and it became like self-conscious, don't you think it would be like, oh, I have won the lottery?
After the existential dread, yeah. 100%.
But what? So if, for example, my son has like a commemorative figurine of oh gosh, why am I spacing on the name of it? The dragon in Skyrim. Skyrim's bad guy dragon. Holy cow! I should know this. Why am I spacing on it? Alduin. That's what it is. It came to me. Alduin. Remember him from Skyrim? He's got like this commemorative figurine of him, big guy. But anyways, would it then take on Alduin's character from the game?
Well, I don't know.
Oh,
Would
that's
he
a
be
nice-
like,
I mean, Brian,
to
you're the
wipe
judge.
out all of existence?
I'll allow it.
yeah, I think it would. Like it is like it's got to like. Otherwise, what is it anyway? Right?
Because it has like a
Right,
psyche.
it's just a hunk of plastic. Right? Yeah. It's got to be what it is.
Wait, is it still gonna be like small though? Right? It's just gonna be like a
right?
little
It's
dragon.
gonna be like
it's not gonna like
everybody
magically
die!
like become like a huge like 100-foot
right. Yeah.
For safeties, to make some rules.
I'm surprised. This one really grabbed the crew.
Yeah.
That's what I'd do. I think a conversation with Alduin.
That would be interesting.
Wait, did Briar choose?
If you get a
Oh,
fictional character who like in your situation, does it also have like the memories of that character? So it now knows that it's like past is
You killed
false?
me, you piece
Oh
of
yeah. Oh, you might want to rethink this.
yeah, that's a good point.
I like run a figurine in my own house.
What if you like
These are weird
reanimated
questions.
like a figurine of like it or like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something?
No, thank
That
you.
just seems
Yeah.
obvious. Like regardless of what memory it meant, you do
don't
not do
that.
that.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
how bad can it be? It's just like a little 6-inch figure.
Yeah, but at the same, what if it's like the nicest person you meet?
Okay.
What if it's just?
But
in
why
this-
would why would you assume that could ever happen? This thing's
Yeah.
gonna kill you anyway.
Why would you like? He's got the chainsaw. And he's just like, hey, my name's Ted.
He's like a member of Mensa. He's like in the chess club.
Actually, no, You know why I'm realizing? It's reminding me of Aqua Teen Hunger Force when the dolls come to life, and none of that go. That's all the worst, and I'm probably relating it to. If you haven't seen those episodes, what is it? There's like I don't know. There's like something the hillbilly guy, and then there's the one dude who's just like, he's like an alcoholic and is vomiting everywhere all the time, and then he's stabbing people, and it won't go well. That's all I'm saying, based on what I've been taught.
Now you got me thinking of the angels from Doctor Who, who whenever you're not looking, they like come and attack you, but they can't move when you're looking at them.
Yeah, all of this is it's always scary.
Yeah, it is.
We need a new Twitter question.
It's a bad idea. The Lincoln 9 says,
Brood Witch.
How do you think they split up the cost of $1.50 hot dog and soda at Costco? $1 for the hot dog and 50 cents for the soda, or 75 cents for each?
Well, it's your membership.
Yeah.
Ruined the question, but
oh wow, way to throw a wet blanket on that one.
It's really just a tip for the people. Yeah, it's not either. It's a tip for the people making it.
Oh really? So the hot dog and the soda are free. You're just tipping
basically
the hot dogs.
Yep.
Just keeping you coming in to get everything. Like I will get this 80-inch TV while I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're
That's
like,
why my wife doesn't let me go to Costco anymore.
I think.
Exactly.
However, I did read an article on this, on the economy of this, after seeing this question.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So
interesting research.
Apparently,
hot dog is
the first ever for Twister Twitter questions.
Okay. All right. So apparently, because of inflation, Costco went and started making their own hot dogs. So technically, they make more money on the hot dogs than they do the soda.
Interesting. Usually it works the opposite way, right? Because the soda is so cheap. Wow.
But yeah, they control the
So are they turning?
They control the means of production. Yeah.
Are they turning a profit for $1.50 hot dog and soda?
I have no idea.
Oh.
No way though. They might have made it better, but I doubt. I mean, I don't know it's hard for me to imagine they're running. What are they running farms now? You're saying, or like, what do you?
I don't know what goes into making hot dogs. I'm just a simple man who plays games on the internet.
It's research.
I don't like that.
Pig parts.
I don't eat hot dogs. Yeah.
Do you not know that it's an animal, Dan? Because, but yeah, I'm like, are they running the farm?
It could be several animals. I mean, like it's the whole thing.
Oh, it probably is several.
That's likely.
But yeah, it's the membership card. But I know you wanted us to argue about whether it was the soda or the hot dog.
If you have any more Costco related questions, be sure to ask Danfinity.
That's right.
I'll look it up for you.
Yeah, did they buy the farm? I really want to know now.
Yeah, I'm assuming that they had to have. Like, I don't know.
Eng says, you wake up, your name is Briar. What do you do?
Wait, is my name Briar, or do I wake up as Briar?
Your just name is Briar. That's all it says.
Or it's just that my name is Briar?
I think you just go about your day.
I would get my name changed.
I'd be hella confused because that's not my name.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
What just happened?
I feel like I've been lied
to. I guess I don't even know. If it's not your name, I actually don't know what your name is.
I'm a little bit offended, Briar, because last time I saw you IRL, I called you Briar, and you did not correct me. So
that's what everybody calls me because that's what everybody knows me as. So I just
now I'm hurt.
I don't know if you've ever told me the real one. Now that I think about it, which is fine.
Everybody just calls me Briar.
You know, we got dicks together, and you're not even going to tell me your real name. Fine.
That is true. That's dicks on my move. My bad. You know what's funny is that like
got a whole bag of
there's
dicks,
only a few people in my life who know me like IRL and know me through the podcast and everything, and they get confused. They'll start calling me Briar in real life, which is weird.
Mm-hmm.
That one is more weird since they know.
Right.
Yeah.
But they'll hear me called Briar all the time, and they'll just start calling me Briar. Blandy McBlanderson says, what time is it? 11:10. Blandy McBlanderson says, which Destiny 2 villains do you think you could beat in a dance-off, and who do you think could beat you? Bonus question, what music would you choose?
The only bad guy from Destiny that I could beat in a dance-off would be the Worm from the Parasite. Because I can't dance, so my only shot is to compete against something that has no legs.
Okay.
That's it. That's it. It's my only shot.
Joke's on you, though. because like they named the worm after something, you know.
That's true.
Might do a killer worm. Might do a killer worm. Like unless you can do a worm as good as that worm, you still might lose.
I think I do a pretty good worm when I'm about 10
Well,
years
they
deep.
named the worm after earthworms. I mean, we've
I
all
thought it was
seen
Scotty
what
Too High.
hive worms do. They scuttle. They don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know
There's no
Rourke is
gyration
taking
there.
that championship down, though, right? He's coming
Yeah.
out victor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Dreadnought says, I'm going to save this one for next week.
Yes.
Dreadnought. Yeah. Gator says, hopefully Miss 5000 Watts will be on. Nope, she's not. But question for everyone. How much weed or THC infused things is too much? Asking for a friend. Peace and love. The world may never know. It's like the thing does it take to get to the middle of a Tootsie Pop. Just keep going.
Question for your physician.
Ask Seth Rogen. Maybe he was
Seth Rogen.
closest. Yeah, he gets like super duper high for everything. I thought everybody knew that, but
Yeah, I think it just depends on your tolerance, man. Like, what are you taking? You taking gummies? You taking brownies?
What is the event that you're getting high for?
Yeah.
Or are you just getting high?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the event?
Is it just a Tuesday?
That's always, I always think that's the warning sign, right? It's like that's when the event is I'm drinking, or the event is I'm getting high. Like that's a warning sign. I feel like when it's like
Sure.
when it's a reward, or when it's like, okay, we're gonna do this, but we're gonna have a couple beers as well. Like I don't know. I get worried when it's
When
the
people
main
are like,
event.
"Hey, let's go."
Let's go get
Get
fucked
Yeah.
up. Like,
Yeah. You know
Let's
what I
go-
mean? Instead of, hey, let's go bowling.
Yeah.
Have some beers. You know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right there.
That sounds like 20s behavior.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Zabe says, this is for Fran. Can you share your favorite memory from E3?
oh wow. Oh, that's gonna be hard because I've been to way too many of them, and I'm super indecisive, as you'll know. Let's just pick something though. I mean, just being like in an interview room with Miyamoto, the creator of Mario, Zelda, all that. Definitely stuff like that where someone you look up to is like, wow, like so influential, and being able to just be in the same room and have a short conversation. Definitely, but there's like a lot of just personal memories and stuff beyond that. But I'm gonna choose that one.
We're gonna do one more question, then call it quits for the night. Mr. Macalito says, with the new season hype subsided, the raid done, and the lore extracted, what do you guys think of the new endless horde mode that Brotato got with its latest update? And have Dan and Fran been introduced to this marvel of a game yet?
Yeah, I don't know.
This is
what
another
you're talking about.
I
advertisement.
have no idea.
It is.
Oh, it is?
Read another
You
ad.
need to start charging, man, for these reads.
So I got confused that it was something in Destiny.
Brotato. Mr. Macalito
Probably-
really likes this game, and he asks about it every week. And
Oh,
nobody
is
on the
this Mr.
podcast has ever played
Macalito?
it.
Oh, you should start charging him $1 to ask that question then.
Yeah. Free sponsorship.
And then,
I love it.
you know what else he does? He always puts like a gif of some delicious dessert. And I am, it's 11 o'clock. I ate like several hours ago. I'm usually like kind of tempted by these desserts.
That's right. It's funny, Briar. Funny story. So today I hit up this great store in downtown Grand Rapids where they do great whiskey barrel picks, where they go to the distilleries, they pick their favorite barrels and stock them there at the store for people to buy. Very cool stuff. And I was in there, I was looking at the various barrel picks that they had done, and this guy was like, this one, you got to try this one. This one's so good. This distillery is doing some really cool things. And I'm like, yeah, I've had some stuff. They're pretty all right. But what makes this one stand apart? And he's like, oh, let me tell you about it. Well, I come to find out when I go to check out, the guy was like, you know, that guy you're talking to works for that distillery, right?
Of course he does.
He was the brand rep for that distillery. He
Oh.
was trying to he was like, you want this one? You know what I mean? So this is what that reminds me of. Is like, are you a dev on this game or something? Like, why are you trying to push it so hard? He's like, no, you really want this one. Trust me. Trust me.
That's awesome. Did not disclose that soon enough.
He did
obviously.
not disclose that.
That's
no.
the worst. I being in stores when people they start telling you about the product, you just assume they work for the store, and then they usually, I think they may have to throw it in, but they don't do it in the beginning, which is annoying. And you're like, well, If I knew that you're biased, I maybe would have walked away a lot sooner. It looks good and all, but yeah, you're wasting my time.
All right, I got a kind of a similar question or similar related question for you guys. When you go to a liquor store and they have they have that guy and he's got some drinks, like free drinks that he's giving out at the liquor store to try and entice
now you're talking.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's my favorite guy too. Is there any drink that he could be serving that you will not take a free sample of?
Sambuca.
Any type?
Zambuca, really? You don't like Zambuca?
Yeah. No, man. In my 20s,
insulted Fran.
In the 20s, I used to close it down, and that was the last drink of the night.
That was the one, huh?
That was the one.
Everybody's got that one.
Interesting. Is there any that I won't?
Yeah, you'll be like, you just walk by them.
I mean, only if it's like some cheap light wine or something like that. Everything else, I'm game. Yeah. There's nothing.
I'm taking that cheap wine. I don't care.
It's like some whatever.
So people have started selling
some $9 rosé
pickle liqueur.
Actually, that'd be
pickle liqueur.
Liqueurs with pickle juice in them, and I absolutely loathe pickles. I'm not a picky eater. I eat tons of stuff, but I hate pickles. And the idea of mixing something I love, like whiskey and stuff, they're like, we're going to do pickle liqueur.
I like pickles, but I'm not always.
I'm ready to drop kick that guy in the teeth. That's what I'll do.
Have any of you ever had a pickleback?
I don't do picklebacks.
Is that like a nickelback?
Pickle juice.
You they probably did picklebacks. But no, you get some bars and some. I think it's more of a southern thing, but they'll have pickle juice. So after your bourbon or
you chase it with a
shot, you chase it with pickle juice shot. Yeah, and it's actually I really like it. It's good, but
not for me.
I love pickle juice. Unlike TV, we would not get along on it.
You get along perfectly. You take all the pickle juice. TV.
That's true. I would drink it for him.
Yeah,
that's right.
Are pickles the new bacon flavor? You know how everything was like bacon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's up there for sure.
Yeah.
Pickles are not anywhere near the same level as.
Well, I was just that was what I was going to say.
That you would say
it's trendy, but you're not going to beat bacon.
Yeah.
Pickles are fine, but bacon is bacon.
Yeah, but bacon is not. He's right that at some point it became a trend that everything was bacon flavored. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's a lot of pickle flavored stuff now. True.
Yeah.
Stop hating on pickles.
I'm not hating on pickles. I'm just saying it's like
Malort. You ever have Malort?
Oh, buddy.
Oh, dude. Actually, maybe that's the one that. You know what? I'm not gonna have it.
What is
I'm
that?
from Chicago
I don't even know
area.
what that is.
No. Oh,
if you're from Chicago area, you definitely know. Oof.
Just try it. Yeah, just try it,
Briar.
Are you going to GCX this year?
bring Malort to Briar. Oh, I want to see him have some Malort.
So, are you going to GCX this year, Briar?
I doubt it. I don't think so.
Chat, bring Malort just in case.
Yeah. When is GCX this year?
There's going to be so many bottles of Malort there now.
You only need one. They're not going to go through that much. Everybody will try it
and just be like the whole convention.
Why? Briar's going to actually fall in love with it. He's going to take all the barrels. So yes, this stuff.
It's not it just doesn't taste great and maybe make your stomach feel weird.
Mm-hmm. Especially before you have to play a show.
Yeah.
and your friend's like, hey, have you ever tried Malort? Not a good time.
Don't fall.
I've never heard of it. Dan and Fran, thank you. This was late notice. Thank you guys both for stepping in.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys.
That was awesome. Great to be back, and it played out well since I've been playing so much Destiny lately. So it's awesome to get insights from all you all and share that I'm not alone in some of these feelings. So, but I'm happy with life overall. By the way, I know we're cutting the show, but I understand that people expected certain things with the campaign and the story. But putting that aside, it's good. More Destiny polish, and looking forward to getting LFG out there, especially before we head into final shape.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You bet. You guys want to plug your socials real quick?
Yeah, Dan, where can people find you?
Hi, my name's Danfinity. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and the TikTok at Danfinity, where the eyes are else. You can also find me on Twitch 3 days a week, twitch.tv/Danfinity, helping out Guardians across the entire game.
Can you help a level 6 to get to level 7?
You know what? Only if you have that sound cue. if you have the sound cue, that'll do it. I also have a podcast called Destiny Digest that comes out every Friday. So yeah.
And you, Fran?
If you're up late in the United States, you can catch me on Twitch. FM3_ is where to find me. Otherwise, just Fran Mirabella on all my socials.
Dope.
All right, guys. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week for more fun and games. Have a wonderful weekend. Goodbye.
Bye.
Guardian out. That show's canceled now.